What was that? Was that the sound of the Vince Wilson Show, boys? We are back again with another great episode. I missed you guys. I know we did a stream on Friday or Monday. We missed one on Wednesday. That's okay. We got right back into it. And now, guess what? We have a ton to cover. And as you know by the title of the stream, yes, Trump's economy and his policies are failing this country. That is undeniable at this point. Just flat out, that's just what it is. We've seen Trump go back and forth on these tariffs, and they're continuing to cause chaos in the economy. Uncertainty right now is the best way to put it. They are trying to hide certain things that are coming through. Just picked up on my darn YouTube stream coming over here. What'd y'all say? TS PMO. Okay. Anyways, so guys, look, we got a lot to cover tonight. We got a lot to cover. We're going to talk about Trump's tariff policies. We're going to talk about the budget. We're going to talk about our boy Elon, okay? Tesla. Donald Trump's little promotion of Tesla, okay? And the White House lawns. It's crazy. We're also going to watch Donald Trump give a speech at DOJ. We're also going to watch Donald Trump censor the press from being able to see some of the CEO roundtable that they had hosted. Okay, so we got a lot to cover. We'll just dive straight into it. So let's go ahead and jump in here with the first stories. Let's go ahead and talk about our boy Elon Musk. Okay, so let's go over here. First of all, Lord Trump. What a character, huh? People should be kissing the feet of Elon Musk and Donald Trump. What we have seen from this administration is they have an absolute love with Tesla. But why do they have a love with Tesla? Of all the EVs that are out there in the world, what is their obsession with Tesla? Well, could it be that it's Elon Musk? And why should I or people be kissing the feet of Elon Musk and Donald Trump? Why are those two names in the same sentence? That is an issue I have. When we see this about kissing the feet, this is not a king. Donald Trump is not a king. He is a president. He works for his constituents, especially his constituents here in the United States. By the way, if you're watching this, make sure you hit that like button, okay? Let's get an early like in there. Please hit that like button. Donald Trump works for his people, the American people. But we shouldn't be kissing his feet. This is how an authoritarian works. We're not an authoritarian country. And we can see here Elon Musk deciding to bring a slew of different cars of the Tesla models over to the White House. What's up, Lee? Welcome in. Listen, my heart goes out to you guys in Canada. We're going to talk about those tariffs that Donald Trump is imposing on our friendly neighbors. Okay, our friendly neighbor is the Spider-Man. We're going to definitely talk about that. So, anyways, you have here Trump saying, this man is a great patriot and you should cherish him. You should cherish Elon Musk. We have to take care of our high IQ people because we don't have too many of them and we have to take care of them. You have two people right there. You have one individual that is a high IQ, quote unquote, individual, but you have one individual that seems to only have very few words and seems to be stuck in the pre-2000s. I think you can figure out which one's which. I don't know if I would sit there and say that Elon Musk has a high IQ. I think he has a peculiar interest in business, but a lot of his businesses have been propped up heavily by the government. You can say he's smart, you can say he's not. Wonderful. Does not change the fact that Donald Trump just gave an advertisement from the Oval Office of Elon Musk's products. Imagine, just imagine for a minute, if this were Joe Biden. In fact, we did have Joe Biden give he was doing, there's been some things going around about Joe Biden bringing a Jeep to the front of the White House lawn, right? And people were upset. They're like, well, what about that? Yeah, nobody was crying about that because why? Joe Biden was not peculiarly trying to sell a Jeep product. What he was trying to boost was the idea of the green energy deal, right? The green energy. By the way, ironically, that MAGA would find a love and affinity for this green energy, even though only a few years ago, they're crying about the Green New Deal and calling it socialist and calling it communist. But they love Elon Musk. Quite peculiar in that. We can see here, you can see there's another Tesla right there that Donald Trump could not drive, by the way, because he's not likely driven in several years. So he probably doesn't know how to drive this vehicle. And you can see here that he was given what to say to the press with a price list of all of the various Tesla products. You can see here, if you zoom in, look at this. Tesla pricing. Full self-driving Model X, $112,490. By the way, $112,000 for a full self-driving vehicle is insane. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not a car guy. I think that's just an insane amount of pricing. Okay. You can also see some other ones here, non-self-driving, $104,000, $100,000. Remember when Joe mandated half of the American family to... It's funny. If you look at this, you can see Teslas can be purchased as low as $299 a month or $35,000. All cars have self-driving, just needs to be turned on for a fee. Listen, this is the funny thing about it. We've seen, first of all, there's a lot of layers here. First of all, Donald Trump is like a NASCAR driver, right? Donald Trump is like a NASCAR driver that has those little patches on their, shoulders of all their sponsorships. This White House is sponsored and brought to you in part by Tesla. That's what this looks like, right? By the way, guys, if you're watching the stream, please hit that like button. It pushes us out into the algorithm. All right, so then we have Donald Trump after this amazing event saying, wow, people are loving Elon, a great patriot. Nice to see. Keep in mind, Elon Musk is actually becoming extremely unpopular due to the things he's doing with Doge, some of the cuts that he's making, laying off people. He's being perceived heavily in the media as not popular. That's just the reality of what's going on. Tammy Pierce says, OnStar is a fee. What's your point? The point is I think any kind of add-ons to a vehicle that are like self-driving or things of that nature, I just think are silly. Give me the bare bones. That's my personal taste. If you like OnStar, great. If you like having this self-driving vehicle, great. Just a little nitpicky point. So, you can see here just what I was talking about. Elon Musk, according to a CNN poll conducted by SSRS, which we will read here in just a second, shows that Elon Musk has a 53% unfavorable view. Keep in mind, by the way, this 35% number favorable seems to be pretty much what the MAGA base is. The MAGA base, time and time again, when you look at these polls, tend to align with about a 35% margin, right? I mean, that's just what they've been. So what I can glean from this is that most of MAGA is a hive mind. I'm sorry. I'm going to call it like it is. And so what we're seeing is consistently from poll to poll to poll to poll, a 35% towards pro-MAGA talking points, whether it be, for example, is Russia a bad guy, right? Or is Russia a good guy? Then you might see it go up. If you see, for example, your opinion of Tesla, it's going to be about 35%. So that 35% is pretty solid. But the 53% unfavorable is crazy. People do not like what's happening with Elon Musk and happening with Doge. They do not like it, plain and simple. And then we got Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi. If you're going to touch a Tesla, go to a dealership, do anything, you better watch out because we're coming after you. What about any other dealership? Why uniquely Tesla? Now, I understand that there's been some protests at certain Tesla dealerships, but pretty interesting how, again, we're seeing the theme of Tesla running through our government. Keep in mind, just another glaring example of the favoritism that Tesla has over our economy. And as this is going on, we have Donald Trump doing a business roundtable with a ton of CEOs. You can see that right here, saying that Elon Musk's Tesla sales could double as a result of his work for him, citing the precedent of Goya beans. Remember, Donald Trump, I believe it was, praised Goya beans. And so Donald Trump thinks that when he speaks about something, the sales magically go up. By the way, Tesla stock is absolutely tanking, by the way. So as we can see, Elon Musk's policy over what's going on right now at the White House is that they are doing an advertisement. They are doing an advertisement from the White House to say, look at this great product. That should not be allowed, period. I don't care what president is. It could be Obama. It could be Bush. It could be Biden. I don't care. The advertisement of a particular company from the White House should not be allowed. And quite frankly, I wonder if it is even legal. So we'll see what comes on going on over the next, coming months and years, and seeing how this Tesla effect goes on. But Tesla's sales are tanking. Tesla's stock is tanking. I believe that over the next few months, we could potentially see Tesla go belly up. Not months, but maybe years. It might take a couple of years. And I predicted this even just from the fact that I believe Tesla is a trend item. I don't believe it is something that's uniquely interesting, right? There's several other competitors in there. Now, granted, Tesla has a huge market share that is undeniable. But again, Tesla being ran by Elon Musk, who is so preoccupied right now with Doge and everything else, and not treating the company too well, only takes is one recession and we can see Tesla go belly up, especially when they're so reliant on government subsidies. Legal Hub, I'm paying attention. You apparently have not. There was a lot of fraud going on in our government. Andrew, please provide to me where exactly you have seen that by Elon Musk. There has been no such thing being given by Elon Musk. The only thing we've seen is that he's providing receipts that are just a cancellation of that said contract. There has been no actual evidence of such fraud, and we'll get to that later, because if there is all of this waste, fraud, and abuse going on within our economy that Doge is uncovering, why then are Republicans continuing to push through a budget? Why not fix that budget? Why continue? You've already been a bull in a china shop, but you want to keep pushing these things through. They had a Jeep showcase on the front lawn. Yeah, Austin, go and take a look back at that. Joe Biden himself did not sell a Jeep. He did not sit there. He had a Jeep on the front lawn. I believe he even had a few other vehicles, but even then, if it wasn't, it was just that one, I believe, if I remember correctly. He did not advertise the Jeep. This is a specific advertisement done by Elon Musk. $500 billion in Social Security and fraud money going to illegals. You cannot prove that, Nathan. You're probably referring to the one where there's 115-year-olds, which, by the way, that's because they do not have a death certificate on hand. And so because of that, they stay on the rolls, but they have not actually received any of that money. So try that again. The burden of proof is on the host. Opinions don't mean Jack, and Jack left town. When you front, you bring proof yourself. I've brought proof. I can bring proof if you would like. If, again, you have yet to have provided any kind of claim. You're the one making the affirmative claim, the one saying that there's over $500 billion in Social Security fraud money going to illegals. You have made the affirmative claim. I could just sit here and say, no, it's not. Just because I'm the host doesn't mean I have to. I can easily debunk it. I've already provided an example in which I believe you're referring to, which is the 117-year-olds. 115, 100, 300-year-olds, whatever. And in fact, one of the things, too, about the Social Security system, I believe one of the defaults when it's been on there too long is that they tend to go back to like a certain default year. And that year, I believe, was like 1890 or 1880 or something like that. But into the same thing, he drove the Jeep around the front long. Tammy, we've already talked about that. That was not an explicit advertisement of the Jeep. You could say that him being in the vehicle is an advertisement. That's cool. But then again, this goes back to the whole idea of a landslide. If you believe that this administration had a landslide of an election win, you would have to then acknowledge then that this is a blatant advertisement of Tesla. If you believe in that there was a landscape of an election, this past election, then you would have to acknowledge, to be principled, that Joe Biden had a landslide victory. But y'all don't want to do that. I don't believe it is the same thing, Tammy. I'm sorry, I disagree. I think there's an inherent difference. I think there's a big difference when Donald Trump is handed a note, specifically, by the way, mind you, saying, here's your Tesla pricing. Here's the full self-driving. And if you look through this, you can kind of see this. It says by the radical left, not just on him, but on this incredible American company and the workers who make these particular cars, the support of those workers. And he's referring to, in this script, Tesla. Joe Biden had the Jeep only as an example. I mean, what? You wanted him to black out the Jeep logo? Great. He mentioned nothing about Jeep, the company, at all. The brand, nothing. Rather, it was about the green energy. This here is all about Tesla. There's no doubt about it. Donald Trump is literally, it was already advertised by the press secretary, he was looking to buy a Tesla. Joe Biden's not looking to buy a Jeep. There's a glaring difference here. And I know you don't like that, and that's okay. Heavy metal election. Okay. Trump is grifter. Yeah, Cheyenne. Welcome in, by the way. Hey, guys, listen. If you're watching the stream and you like my stream, please hit that like button. It's the least you could do. Okay? If you don't like the stream, that's great. Keep on hate watching. That's okay. Trump's getting rid of woke. You should be supporting him. What is woke? Woke ended like 5 years ago. It is ridiculous. Woke is gone. Woke has been gone. In fact, I would argue that MAGA movement is the new woke movement. Like it or leave it, that is the case, and that is the truth. I think it's funny how Trump always says the radical left with that weird volume-changing voice. Again, this is because he's almost 80 years old. Mind you, keep in mind, MAGA complained about Joe Biden's age and Joe Biden's cognitive abilities, yet they will never question Donald Trump's age or Donald Trump's cognitive abilities. What's up, Gamer Jam? Capitalists want you to believe that you're in competition with immigrants for unlimited resources, but at the same time, billionaires holding trillions of dollars worth of resources. Yeah, and keep in mind, this economy that's going into a hell in a handbasket is ultimately benefiting billionaires. Why? Because guess what? When these billionaires are... sorry, I'm trying to find the darn thing. Okay. Because keep in mind, when these billionaires, when the market tanks and there's a recession, it really benefits the billionaires because guess what? They can buy stocks at a discount. They go in and they soak up all those resources, right? And then they get everything. And then all of a sudden, when the market does eventually, because the stock market typically rebounds, even at the lowest of lows, it tends to rebound, right? Then all of a sudden, they make a ton of money. And now the wealth gap expands even more. Saying woke ended years ago is far from the truth, bro. It is not far from the truth. And in fact, you're right. Woke is right here in this very picture. And it's called the MAGA movement. The MAGA movement is now the new woke movement. That is the truth. Billionaires create jobs, not you. You're right. I don't create a job. And quite frankly, billionaires don't create a job either. Quite frankly, billionaires are really just like CEOs that don't really absolutely contribute. It's the workers, right? The workers who are sitting there grinding every day. The CEO sits there and kind of coordinates. There's some coordination, but they don't create the jobs. In fact, in public companies, it's not even really just the CEO, okay? It's the entire board, and it's the lower level managers who, if I'm being honest, are given their budgets of who they can and cannot hire, right? Or it's just frankly a budget. And a lot of times it's like, hey, here's here's how much money for hiring, right? Or whatever. It could be hiring. It could just be your total budget for the year. It depends on your company. And in that case, now the lower level managers are the ones actually hiring people. So how far do we want to take this to its logical conclusion? This is your views are low. You didn't say anything the past 4 years. Brandon, I absolutely have said many things over the past 4 years. Now, again, you could say my views are low. That's fine. That's great. I have no offense to that at all. I appreciate your concern, and I'll take it to deep heart and deep consideration moving forward. How is your stream doing? Are you doing good? Making sure you're doing good too, because your views are so important. Who creates a company like you do? You don't make any sense. Who created the company? The owner created the company. Who kept the wheels turning? The workers, the people below that that owner. Now, there are small businesses that absolutely keep things running on a more local level. But the larger corporations tend to have essentially the hamsters in the wheel, the cogs of the machine are the workers down there. You're screaming in the wind, dude. That's great. Thank you for taking that time, taking the effort to comment. I really appreciate it. All right, so let's move on to the next story. The next story we have here is this lovely thing. The Department of Education. Donald Trump was to get rid of the Department of Education. He wants to move it down to the states. A lot of red states, by the way, rely heavily on government funds, and especially government funds in the education side, okay? What Donald Trump wants to do is get rid of it and send it down to the states for the states to then fund it themselves, or give them a block grant, which then a block grant could be used for a whole number of things. So what we're going to see is these states. How do you think Texas is going to respond, for example? Do you think Texas is going to sit there and give all that federal funds, even if it is given via a block grant to, Texas? Do you think that they're going to give more to the red counties, or do you think they're going to give them more to the blue counties? I think we all know the answer to that. And so what we see here is kind of an escalation towards getting rid of the Department of Education. What we see here is Secretary McMahon said that staff cuts are first step towards shutting down the Department of Education. This directive to me is clearly to shut down the Department of Education. Today we took the first step by eliminating bureaucratic bloat, even though in this picture, now I don't think this is totally relevant to this, we see Elon Musk standing next to Donald Trump, an unelected bureaucrat. Yes, you MAGA now love unelected bureaucrats. It's rich to me. But yes, that's one way they're going to do it, is now they're starting cuts. But here's the crazy thing. You talk about unqualified candidates. I would argue that Secretary McMahon is seemingly unqualified if she's unable to answer this very, very basic question. McMahon said Congress appropriates the money going through Title I through IDEA programs, and Ingram asked, what does that stand for? McMahon said, I'm not sure I can tell you what exactly it stands for. Well, let's take a look. Title I of the ESEA supplements state and local. The Title I of the ESEA supplements state and local funding for low achieving children, especially in high poverty schools. So while Linda McMahon sits there and doesn't quite understand what Title I is, even though Title I is a very, very important program, that should be concerning. Now, granted, she's not concerned about this. Why? Because her position's going to be gone when the Department of Education is gone. Linda McMahon is the wrecking ball. She is there only to dismantle the Department of Education. That's it. That is Linda McMahon's job. That's why she doesn't need to know about all these other things. Why? Because these programs are going to be gone. If your number one objective coming into that position is to get rid of everything, then you don't need to know everything. You just need to know how to dismantle it. And everybody can dismantle an organization, can they not? Further, we have this. This is an interesting, talking about the Department of Education. Oklahoma Supreme Court blocks the Bible in public schools. The Oklahoma Supreme Court has temporarily halted Superintendent Ryan Walters' plan to place 50,000 Bibles in public school classrooms. Keep in mind, these Bibles are not the one you see right here. It's very funny that they use this Bible picture. It is actually the Lee Greenwood Bible, or as you can see here, the God Bless the USA Bible. You know, the one that Donald Trump himself endorsed, who's probably getting a kickback from these sales. I say probably because, again, we can only assume, having had that fact that he's endorsed these, that he's probably getting a kickback from some aspect or another of this. So What we've learned from this is that the Department of Education is extremely vital to our country, and to simply get rid of it instead of fixing it. And this is the problem with MAGA, is that they believe in just simply tearing down these organizations instead of fixing them. What they can do is they can give a skeleton, that's fine, but don't get rid of the Department of Education. And again, this is the problem, is they're trying to defund, they're trying to get rid of the staff. And what we're going to see, and mark my words because I'm almost positive, is we're going to see, if you think education rates are bad now, wait until that funding is stripped away. Wait until you're no longer able to get a college loan because your state has misappropriated those funds. If your idea is that government misappropriates funds, that government is full of waste, fraud, and abuse, what makes you think that state governments are any better? The reality is that you're going to give money, a block grant, to these states to use as they wish. What makes you think that they're going to use them in an appropriate manner? It's saying, hey, here's a truckload of cash. Do with it as you please. This is a terrible, terrible idea to get rid of the Department of Education. Let's read through the chat now. I'll never understand the thought process of we need Bibles in the schools outside of religious clubs. Welcome in, Popcorn. By the way, guys, if you're watching the stream, please, please, please hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. Understand the thought process of we need Bibles. The thing is this is an appeal again to Trump. This is the same reason we've seen many senators, congressmen, whatever, that have gone through and bought Trump shoes, that we've seen them, touting all these Trump bills. I think we saw that in Florida, for example. There was like a Trump bill or something. It literally had the name Trump in it. There's the third term bills by Senator Andy Ogles. I think Senator might be a House member. Andy Ogles, for Trump to serve a third term. It's the same thing here. This superintendent is trying to say, look, Trump, look, I kiss your feet. I'm bowing down to you, as if Trump is a king. That is not how this country is set up for. We were just fine with the Department of Education, another failed Carter policy. Tammy, again, the issue is if you give this, what does a post-Department of Education world look like to you? What does that look like? You do know that America was founded by the Christian belief. That's great. But guess what? Would you be okay? Here's a question you have to ask yourself. If you believe in the freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and all these other things, would you be okay then if all of a sudden someone brought the Quran into the classroom? Would you be okay if someone brought in a Buddhist Bible? Do we take it to the nth degree, an atheist text, whatever, into the classroom, and that teacher start to incorporate it into the curriculum? Keep in mind, this is not just a matter of having a Bible in a library. This is a Bible becoming a core part of their, I believe it's their social studies curriculum. Why? Because there's a little tiny paragraph at the very end of the Bible. You talk about corruption. You talk about waste, fraud, and abuse. The way they're trying to get this in the classroom is there's about 3 or 4 pages towards the very end of this Bible that have the Bill of Rights and all sorts of different founding documents. They're trying to sneak the Bible into class because they know if they just try to throw the Bible in there with no other basis, then it's not going to succeed. It's not going to be able to get done. So this is their way of doing it. Thank you for the subscription. I appreciate it. You're good with that. That's great. That's great. You want to have a class, a social studies class, then go ahead. I don't believe you for one bit that you would be okay with having the Quran or a Buddhist text or even an atheist text right? It could just be an atheist text. What if California is like, hey, because guess what? We have already seen Texas try to go after, for example, transgender individuals, for example, on their licenses and things of that nature. And people scream about that, an adult transgender male or female. And everybody's upset about them not wanting to put male or female on their license, even though they can, there's just a whole host of things that you can look at in history when Republicans just patently have been against any kind of other religion other than Christianity and the Bibles, especially when we heard for the entire election, Jesus is king, Jesus is king. And all of a sudden now MAGA goes to church on Sundays, even though they hadn't been to church for the past 10 years, all of a sudden, because Donald Trump is getting hands prayed over him, he's the second coming of Jesus. Now MAGA is sitting there all of a sudden, okay, with the fact that, I'll have every religion there. Okay, I don't believe it. Miguel, this is America. Freedom of religion does exist, but there is a difference when you put an actual text, an establishment of religion, and a de facto establishment of religion by putting the Bible into a social studies classroom to then teach out of that Bible. That's a whole nother thing. You want to talk about religious and world cultures and things of that nature. That's one thing, right? You're not per se teaching the teachings of the Bible. That is de facto making Christianity a religion. We've already seen Donald Trump, for example, make English the U.S. national language. We've already seen Donald Trump try to go in and make the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. It's still, by the way, it's still the Gulf of Mexico. Sorry. I'm going to call it like I see it. I'm an atheist, bro, but I'm still pro-Trump. That's great. Tell me why you're pro-Trump, Jamin. Tell me why you're pro-Trump. We need to separate church and state. What's up, Oyede? All right. So let's go on to this next topic. This next one now, we are going to talk about the tariff trade war that Donald Trump has absolutely unleashed onto the world stage. So earlier this week, Donald Trump announced that he was going to put on 25% tariff, Ontario announced they were going to do a 25% tariff on electricity for the U.S. And Donald Trump was up in arms and screaming, and you can see his response here. Based on Ontario, Canada placing a 25% tariff on electricity coming into the United States, I've instructed my Secretary of Commerce to add an additional 25% tariff to 50% on all steel and aluminum coming into the United States from Canada, one of the highest tariffing nations anywhere in the world. This will go into effect tomorrow morning, March 12th. Also, Canada must immediately drop their anti-American farmer tariff of 250% to 390% on various U.S. dairy products, which has long been considered outrageous. Let's keep in mind, by the way, these dairy tariffs have to meet a certain quota before they actually kick into effect. But Donald Trump doesn't really like to, mention that. This will allow you to quickly do what has been done to alleviate this abusive threat from Canada. If other egregious long-time tariffs are not likewise dropped by Canada, I'll substantially increase on April 2nd the tariffs on cars coming into the U.S., which will essentially permanently shut down the automobile manufacturing business in Canada. And he goes on to say those cars, blah, blah, blah. Keep in mind, by the way, that the way that car manufacturers work between the relationship between Canada and Mexico that people don't quite understand is that Canada's done playing around. Canada will impose a tariff right back onto the United States, and they're not afraid to do so. What happens is that you have a car that's manufactured here in the United States. It goes up to Canada, gets another part or two or whatever added onto it, and it comes back into the United States. What we saw when Canada initially did this, when we first had our spat back and forth, we saw car manufacturers halt operations. Why? Because they can't really finish their manufacturing in Canada because tariffs are extremely high, and they can't really bring it down to the United States because it's extremely high. So there's like, hey, we're going to be a stalemate. What does that do? It costs jobs. Okay. It costs more money to buy vehicles. And specifically steel and aluminum tariffs are going to cost more, especially if the steel is what's being used to make these cars. And we're seeing now after Donald Trump said, hey, look, we're going to throw a retaliatory tariff on you. You can see here where Canada was to impose a 25% retaliatory tariff on $21 billion worth of U.S. goods. So what we saw was an unnecessary trade war. Donald Trump is kind of, in essence, ticked off Canada. Canada's like, we're done playing with you. We're going to go on the offense. And so Canada said, look, we're going to impose a tariff on you unprompted. And Donald Trump said, well, we're going to throw a tariff back on you. And Canada's like, we're going to throw it back on you. And now we get the craziest thing of all. Like, this is just insane to me. Insane to me. Caroline Leavitt said tariffs are a tax hike on foreign countries and a tax cut for the American people. I would love you MAGA in chat and MAGA viewers who are watching this. Please enlighten me how tariffs are a tax cut. A tax cut. You are going to eat that cost. You, the consumer, the end user, are going to consume that cost. And the reporter snapped back and said, have you ever paid a tariff? I have. They don't get charged on foreign countries. And Levitt said, I think it's insulting that you're trying to test my knowledge on economics. When you say something as absurd as tariffs are a tax cut, I would say you probably don't have a good understanding of economics. And Donald Trump is confronted by CEOs at a business forum, and they kicked the reporters out of that. I wonder why. Could it be because CEOs are saying, yo, we need some confidence. Either you take these tariffs into place or you don't. We need some confidence in the market. And we can see here, CNBC's Steve Leisman goes off on Trump's reckless trade wars, saying, I'm going to say this at the risk of my job. What President Trump is doing is insane, is absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. Popcorn said tariffs themselves are literally attacks too. 110% Popcorn. And let's be very clear, I'm not opposed to tariffs. What I am opposed to is reckless tariffs and not having a consistent one. It's a weekend thing. I guarantee you, I almost guarantee you at this point, while Donald Trump is golfing this weekend, because we all know Donald Trump is now going to be the vacationer in chief. He's going to be vacationing more than he's actually working, even though, MAGA complained about Joe Biden doing that, and now all of a sudden they are. I guarantee you we're going to see some kind of a spat over the weekend. This is what ends up happening. Donald Trump imposes a tariff. 2 days later, he drops it when Canada... What kind of happens is this. Donald Trump throws a tariff out there. He says, I'm going to throw 25% at you. Canada goes, well, we're going to throw 50% at you. And Donald Trump goes, okay, I'm sorry. We've come to an agreement. We are no longer doing these tariffs. Next weekend, I'm going to throw a tariff at you. Rinse and repeat. And we're going to be doing this for the next 12 months. It's insane. It's insane. And what we see is Levitt saying, Canada saw, if you want to step up into the big leagues, you better be prepared to play. When Donald Trump backed down from these tariffs. Donald Trump backed down from them. So yeah, it's just insane to me. And here you can see Donald Trump's handling the economy has absolutely tanked. For the first time ever in CNN's polling, a majority disapproves of Trump on the economy, and it's a clear majority, 56%. What I want you guys to understand is this. Donald Trump won because of the economy, not because he was supposed to be, and I've heard this saying, and don't let anybody ever say this, that Donald Trump was elected to be a bull in a china shop. That was not what he was elected. I've heard this numerous times. No polling suggests that he was elected to be a bull in a china shop. What Donald Trump was elected to be was to change the economy and turn the economy around. Because again, Donald Trump ran on the propaganda that the economy was doing terrible when it was actually recovered and it was in a soft landing. So Donald Trump was not given that mandate to be a bull in a china shop. That's not what he was given. He was given a vote to turn the economy around, this perceived bad economy. And all he has done is tank the economy due to this uncertainty, due to these tariffs. And you can see Lutnick trying to play these off a little bit. You don't get inflation from having a tariff. You don't get an inflation from having a tariff. Yes, you kind of do. When you have done a blanket tariff on EU, well, let's just think about the basic of this, right? This soda can, okay, this nice little soda can was yesterday, it was 50 cents, but now we've got a 100% tariff on this. Now it is $1. What is that called? That's called inflation. That's what that's called. You can see here, this is on the same day. This is the Canadian finance minister announcing these tariffs on the $29 billion in goods. And Trump imposing a 25% tariff. This is the crazy thing. Donald Trump has not just picked a trade war with Canada, he's also picked it with the EU. Trump imposed a 25% tariff on imported steel and aluminum, sparking EU retaliation and raising concerns over rising consumer prices. And you can see now that the golden age is upon us and that U.S. recession risk is at 40%, JP Morgan's chief economist says. We are heading towards a recession. That is undeniable. And you have people, Republicans specifically, like Tommy Tuberville, going around saying no pain, no gain. That's what we use to tell our football players there's going to be some pain with tariffs. Democrats, get out of the way and shut up. They are living in a clown world. And you can see here that consumer sentiment slid another 11% this month, with declines seen consistently across all groups by age. This is from the University of Michigan. You can see unemployment inflation expectations worsen. You can see it was down here about 30%, and now it's upwards of 70%. 70% of consumers believe unemployment is going to, expecting more unemployment over the next year. Inflation over the next year. Inflation in the long run is going up as well. So as we sit here and we think about what's going on with our economy, what we have to realize is that Donald Trump's tariff policy is absolutely wrecking our economy. What we have to understand is that this is going to end up leading to a recession and potentially even a depression. Sorry, man, I got to go. Have a good day, Vince. Good luck with the others in the comments. Thank you, Popcorn, for coming by, buddy. I appreciate it. Damn right, tariffs cause inflation. Democrats have been taking people into poverty for years, no matter how much more people pay for the same old stuff. All taxes add up the same way on us. You're trying to say Democrats have been taking people into poverty for years, even though it is their inflationary policies from the Republican administration. You know, Donald Trump, who passed a stimulus package in December of 2020. Donald Trump, who made that OPEC deal that tightened the oil market. Democrats inherit this bad economy. Now, let's be very clear. The same could be said about Donald Trump inheriting the economy from Joe Biden, except there's one issue. Tariffs have a direct impact on the economy. Putting in place tariffs and not having consumer confidence is a direct result of Donald Trump's policies. Had Donald Trump not implemented tariffs, you have a way better argument to say that he is inheriting Joe Biden's economy. Unfortunately, Donald Trump tanked all of that when he decided to go in and put in tariffs in place. Gas is going down where I'm at. That's great. I think gas is down like 10 cents. Good job. Good job. Oil demand, by the way, because a lot of people don't understand this, under Joe Biden, oil supply was at record highs. Yeah. It was at record highs. And in fact, gas prices did come down under Joe Biden as well. They went up and they're coming back down. Now, they're not back to pre-2020 levels, but they are down, or down under Joe Biden. Markets in modern history have statistically performed better under Democratic administrations, subject to statistics. Yeah. Hey, welcome in, Ivan. Welcome back, buddy. What's up, Texas Repo? I see you're back hate watching. I appreciate your comments. Hey, do me a favor, guys. If you're watching the stream and you like the stream, please hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. Your likes help push this out more to the algorithm, and that's what we want to see. Prices only went up under Biden. Wait. Prices were at record highs. Prices only went up under Biden. This is such a two-dimensional idea that, because this is the problem. It's like MAGA will see this chart and be like, oh, price go up. But they don't look at the actual back part of this. They don't look at the back part and say, well, how did we get to this rise? There's something that caused, and I'm using this as an example, okay? This is obviously just about like expectations. But I can pull up the CPI data, and you'll be like, number go up under Joe Biden, so Joe Biden caused inflation. No. This is one of the reasons why we say that president's policies have a 10-year impact on the debt, right? This is one reason why we say, if you look at Donald Trump spent added $8 trillion to our deficit, whereas Joe Biden only contributed $4 trillion over the next 10 years. Why? Because these bills that are signed into law have an effect long past their 4 years. And it's the same thing here. In fact, we saw this, for example, with this year, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act only like this month, or last month or this month, ended up leaving. They're no longer in effect. Because again, that was signed into law, 2019 or something like that? 18, 19, 17 even? I don't know. And now we're still dealing with that because it lasts longer. So stop having this two-dimensional idea that the line goes up under Joe Biden. So it's all because of Joe Biden. No, that's not how that works. You have to look at the nuance to it. Tariffs will make things more expensive, but the real goal is for the External Revenue Service to replace the IRS and get rid of taxes for those that are making. Yeah, good luck. An overhaul of that magnitude first of all, an overhaul of that magnitude is going to take years to plan out, first and foremost, which, again, they have 2 years to get a majority of their bills passed if they want to do that. Second, we saw just today, for example, on the budget reconciliation, where the motion for cloture could be held up by Democrats still. Why? Because they were given such a thin margin of a win. Republicans still have to win over like a couple of Democrats to get it past that point. So again, same thing here. They would need to get the Republicans who are in swing districts onto their abolish the IRS movement. That's not going to happen. So what you're going to see is tariffs go through the roof, no kind of tax cuts being made. And guess what? Now prices are going to go through the roof. Your taxes are still high. You see how that works? Wouldn't that be a good thing, though? Who doesn't want little to no taxes? Of course, no one would like to pay taxes. Of course, no one would love to do that. But the reality is that our government functions on taxes. Your Social Security, for example, by the way, which is a tax. I'm sorry, I'm going to take the Destiny approach here, which is actually not really a Destiny approach. It's just a generic approach. Most Americans don't know how to save money. So what I would rather have is I would rather have the U.S. government taking that Social Security and putting it into a piggy bank, essentially. And I would love to see it get fully funded through billionaires. I believe, from my understanding, it's not fully funded, but it is 75% funded, and it could be 25% if the billionaires get taxed or whatever. But again, I think that there is an element that we absolutely need taxes. For example, a great example, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense how they do this, but a lot of people will sit there and say, well, I want to send the Department of Education the funding down to the states. Well, what happens when you have no tax revenue? You have tariff revenue, right? But those tariffs are not going to be enough to make up for that. You would have to keep them in place. And then the question is okay, what happens when the idea of it is to try to draw in U.S. manufacturing, right? What happens when the U.S. manufacturing is brought back to the United States? Well, it's hypothetically, in this hypothetical world, they all come back to the United States. What are you going to do then? What are you going to do then? You're going to be left going, oh, we don't have any tariff revenue. Because what's going to end up happening is this is how it's going to look. Tariff revenue is going to go down, 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 down. Why? Because two things. People are going to stop importing, okay, first and foremost. Doesn't mean that everybody's going to. Doesn't have to, okay? People can just not import. And second, you're going to have companies that do end up coming back to the United States in several years. Good luck. So again, it's just a terrible, terrible idea to get rid of the IRS or get rid of taxes at all. I promise your tax cuts are temporary. Tax cuts from the rich are permanent. Welcome in, Bob. Taxes for the rich have gone down. If we tax the rich at the correct amount, we wouldn't need to pay taxes. Exactly, Magisterial. Welcome in, buddy. Wait. This guy is not making sense. Manufacturing will not come back to... No. Magisterial. Stop. You guys aren't listening to what I'm saying. You came in at the wrong time, Magisterial. No, I know. Listen, I don't know if you came in at the right time. I'm on your side. What I'm arguing from them is somebody in the chat asked if we should get rid of the IRS. And I said, no, we should not get rid of the IRS. We should not get rid of Social Security. We should not get rid of Medicare. Because an average American cannot save. That's the truth. The most Americans will not save their money. So it's important for the IRS to go in and actually or take some of that money from the Social Security and put it in there for you so you do have some money when you retire. It's fully funded. Okay? Or not fully funded. It's self-paying, right? You put into it, you get it out. You work for the IRS, no tax on people making less than $150,000 sounds fair. Again, it may sound fair, but anybody with the sane IQ would know that that's not the actual case. Tariffs are paid by all countries, not just the U.S. Tariffs are paid by all countries, not just the U.S. I don't know. Sorry, I had something going on in the background. Tariffs are paid by not the countries. They're being paid by the people who import products. And if you have a tariff that's being pushed onto the If you have a tariff from France onto the United States, it's going to cost them money to import products or export products from the United States into that country. That's why we said, for example, when Canada imposed the retaliatory tariffs, car manufacturers shut their doors. They're like, we can't do business. I can't send my half manufactured car back to Canada, right? Yeah, you work for the IRS? I do not work for the IRS. I do not. I'll tell you that right now. Neither do you, I'm sure. If you think Trump wants to end taxes for poor people and raise it for the rich, then I have an email to forward you. There's a prince in Nigeria. I got you, Stephen. Tariffs only paid by people who import products. Right, companies who import products. Hey, by the way, guys, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. We're up to 126 viewers. Some of you guys can at least hit that like button, okay? Saying IRS and good in the same sentence. Right. It is actually somewhat good. The problem is that the IRS has been deeply underfunded. And so to keep underfunding them means your tax returns don't get processed in a timely manner. The IRS is the one that keeps it's the revenue service, internal revenue service. You know, the idea of a deficit is hilarious to me because a lot of Republicans or MAGA don't understand this idea. You get rid of the IRS, you better hope that the tariffs are able to make up for it, assuming in a perfect world that every company will still continue to import their products, which they won't. Which means, guess what? That deficit, beep, skyrockets to the moon. Thoughts on the impacts of the stimulus checks on the economy? Seems like a huge blunder for the long term, in my opinion. Yeah, sad efforts. Welcome in, buddy. So yeah, my idea on this, and I've criticized the Joe Biden administration on this as well. I was fine with the first stimulus check. I think it was absolutely needed. The second stimulus check was just getting kind of crazy. It was done in December of 2020. And then we saw another stimulus check come out like in March of 2021 under Joe Biden. I was not a fan of that one either. I said it to the very end. Now, the American Rescue Plan had some good things in it, certainly, 100%. But the stimulus checks were unnecessary. They overheated an already hot economy. We saw this, I believe it was in December of 2020. We saw record travel. Now, you could say that could be due to coming out of 2020. And so travel opening up. But my belief is that most people had that extra money in their pocket, a significant amount of money. And what people don't remember is that during the summer, okay, of 2020, you had a significant amount of unemployment benefits coming to you, funded by the federal government. The federal government funded your unemployment essentially on top of whatever you normally make. There were several amounts of cash pumped into our economy. It was insane. And that's why I say it was because primarily of Donald Trump's policies that we saw record inflation. And I do believe that Joe Biden contributed to it, but marginally compared to Donald Trump's policies. Donald Trump's policies were far more excessive. And that's bared out in the numbers, too. You can look at, I say C19 because I'm used to TikTok language. C19 spending, and Donald Trump spent way more on C19 than Joe Biden did. USA is the world's largest purchaser. Yes, our supply chain is fully globalized. It'll be a difficult adjustment to bring back vertical supply chains here in the U.S. No, Juan, you're exactly correct, and that's the biggest issue is that people keep thinking, even in a hypothetical world, that you can bring back businesses to the United States. The issue is that they still have to source their raw materials and their other goods from other countries, right? That's just the nature of the beast. There's certain, like Donald Trump said with Ukraine and how he tried to work out that rare earth mineral deal, right? Well, guess why? It's rare earth minerals. We still have to get that from somewhere. So it still would be tariffed coming into the United States. Welcome in, Tron. Ben said, Joe Biden saved this country simply by not being Trump. No, I think Joe Biden saved this country. Well, I think that's one of the ways you could say. But I also think he saved this country as well by Inflation Reduction Act, the Infrastructure Act, the American Rescue Plan, just to name a few. And there's another one I'm missing. Greenland. Yeah, Jeff D. That's the crazy thing too, right? Is that Greenland. And Donald Trump, by the way, during this talk, has still not let up over the idea of taking over Greenland and Canada. At this point, we are all but having declared war on Canada. It's insane to me. It's insane to me to see what's going on. Yeah, everybody was protesting, running around with swords. So let's go on to the next topic here. This is the budget reconciliation bill. I'm not going to go over spend too much time on this one. But basically what we had was the budget was cheered by Republicans, even though nothing changed in this. It's a continuing resolution from previous year's spending, which means the same waste, fraud, and abuse that Doge found is being funded by Republicans. Good job, Republicans. And there was a little section in there, by the way, to relinquish Republicans' power to revoke the National Emergencies Act that what Donald Trump declared in order to enact his tariffs. Republicans said, we don't want that power to remove the national emergency. We also have on here the anchor for CNN saying, do you think you can cut $700 billion without touching law-abiding American citizens who are entitled to their benefits under Medicare, Social Security, and Medicaid? Do you think that's really possible? Chip Roy ignored the question, which, by the way, Chip Roy is, I believe, from Texas. And yeah, it says right there, Texas. And they don't want to answer that. Why? Because they have to. They have to get rid of Medicare and Social Security. That's just the only way you can get $700 billion in cuts, right? We've seen numerous senators come out and say that's the only way you can do it. Well, as this worked its way into the Senate, we saw members like Chuck Schumer come out, say, Republicans don't have the votes. And then the very next day come out and say, I'm going to vote for this continuing resolution. Donald Trump, congratulations to Chuck Schumer for doing the right thing, took guts and courage, the big tax cuts, LA fire fix, debt ceiling bill, and so much more is coming. It's coming. You know, it's coming, guys. It'll never come. We should all work together on that very dangerous situation. A non-pass would be a country destroyer. Approval will lead us to new heights. Again, really good and smart move by Senator Schumer. This could lead to something big for the USA, a whole new direction, and beginning DJT. And I side with Presley on this. I don't think we should be moving in a way to elicit praise from Donald Trump, who has no respect for our Congress and the powers of the purse, who is by the hour rolling out executive actions that are lawless. This is a hostile government takeover. He is a dictator. She's spot on this. Donald Trump has consistently gone against Congress's will, has put Doge in place to subvert Congress. And Chuck Schumer's getting praise from Donald Trump. Chuck Schumer needs to go. He needs to be primaried. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it like it is. Now, granted, I know we got another, 3 more years or whatever it is with Chuck Schumer. But the reality is that this guy here is not the future of the Democratic Party. The time that it matters the most, he decides to flop. And in fact, it was not just Chuck Schumer that flopped. It was a number of Democrats and pretty big names on this list. Senator Cortez Masto, Durbin, Fetterman. Fetterman at this point is all but a Republican or at the very least an independent. Gillibrand, Hassan, King, Gary Peters, Schatz, Schumer, and Shaheen. This is the list of who the Democrats ought to primary. That's who these people are going to go after. That's what the Democrats need to be focused on, is who did this in the moment that it mattered the most. Now, I will be clear. We'll see how this holds up in 4 years, because we all know that Democrats tend to drop the ball when it matters the most. So, again, what we're seeing is that Democrats keep dropping the ball. Okay, so we have on here, wait a minute, Chuck Schumer made a really good point. He said shutting down the government will let Doge go crazy and shut down so many different departments. The problem is, Juan, is, again, I get what he's saying, but the issue is right now, this should have been resolved earlier, right? This concern, this messaging should have been sent out earlier, but it wasn't. This was something, think about the messaging in this sense, right? Because even if I were to agree with you, Juan, the issue is that what happened was Schumer literally, quite literally, like 1 minute goes the day before. Oh, shoot. My dog just knocked this over. Fudge. Hold on 1 second, guys. Oh, where's the blue thing? Ah! She knocked over the blue thing. There. Blue lights up. We're back. Y'all saw behind the curtain, behind Oz. That's great. But anyways, the issue I have is that when Chuck Schumer first came in, one day he's like, hey, I don't want to get rid of this, only to then go in and say, hey, I want to get, Schumer's like, I don't want, they don't have the votes. And then all of a sudden the next day he's like, guess what? I'm voting for it. Why would you do that? You should have resolved that several days ago. Doge is doing an audit, not cutting. That's wrong, Jeff. That's patently wrong. They're canceling contracts right now. Literally, you can go onto the Doge website and it shows the receipts that they're cutting contracts. That's the whole reason there's lawsuits right now, because they're cutting funding. Thank you, Juan. I appreciate the subscription, buddy. Appreciate it. Yes, it is. Let me go see. I'll pull it up here if I can. Give me 1 second. Here, let me pull it up real quick for you. We can go to Doge. And you can see that it's cut. I mean, that's the whole reason there's lawsuits right now. We go to the Doge website, though. I think it's up. Savings. Let's go to savings. What is the savings? Oh, because they're cutting things. Here, I'll just pull up a random receipt. I don't know if it'll let me. Here, this is a good one. Right here. Oh, I don't have it up. Hold on. Let me move it over here so you guys can see this. Look at that. What does that say? Reason for modification. Close out. Close out. And this is particularly in for this right here. That's for this. Bureau of Land Management, EEO, DEIA support. They're closing it out. So again, what was that? Oh, they're not cutting contracts? Yes, they are. That's exactly what they're doing. Doge is using troubleshooting 101 on the system, turning the government off and back on again. Pretty much. And the problem is they're doing Control F to essentially find some of these things, which is an issue. And the economy is crashing faster than ever. Yes, you're right there, Plop. The directors are doing it based on recommendations. Recommendations from who, Jeff? Recommendations from who? Could it be Doge? Wonder how that works. Yeah, exactly, Juan. It's undeniable. They're cutting contracts. 84 Toyota said, I think they're using AI. They absolutely, I believe, are. And they're looking for certain keywords. Oh, Doge. Okay, so Doge is cutting them. Yes. You think a director is going to go against Doge? We saw how well that went with Marco Rubio in the closed door meeting with Elon Musk. Elon Musk and Rubio went at it, apparently in the White House, in one of the rooms. When Donald Trump was in there, and Elon Musk kind of, what was it? Oh gosh, the Troy Daniels, I think is his name. The FAA guy was like, hey, look, you're cutting things I need. And Elon Musk basically said to like kick rocks, and he got upset. Donald Trump had to intervene. He's like, guys. It's like crazy. Anyways, let's go on to the next story, and then we're going to watch the presser from the whatchamacallit. So remember when Donald Trump said that he was going to get rid of, all these undocumented immigrants, and he was going to build this wonderful camp in Guantanamo Bay? Well, first of all, they found out there was not necessarily just hardened criminals that were going to Guantanamo Bay. It turned out to be everyday, just undocumented immigrants, non-violent ones. And because of that, it was ordered that they were to go back outside of Guantanamo Bay. I think a judge had a rule on it. And so now they've moved them from Guantanamo Bay all the way over to Louisiana. And now Guantanamo Bay no longer houses any undocumented immigrants. Why did the Trump administration do this? It's very simple. It was for a photo op. That's what they wanted. They wanted the photo op of those 4 or 5 migrants that went into, and this is the funny thing about reading this, by the way, the 40 illegal migrants detained at Guantanamo Bay, including 23 quote unquote high threat individuals, have been moved to Louisiana. The funny thing about this is 40 people. And they had this big old cargo jet. Big old cargo jet. And they put 40 people on there. 40 people. Congratulations. That's highly efficient, right? Highly efficient. And they've been touting this number. And it got me thinking. I'm like, okay, I've seen this number come up. Why is it a 95% decrease? So what you'll notice is a couple of things. And keep an eye out for this when you see these kinds of statistics, okay? Notice what this says. Biden, fiscal year 2023. Trump, fiscal year 2025. 95% decrease. What are y'all missing in there? What do y'all think is missing in there? What's missing in there is actually 2024 average gotaways per day. And it turns out there's a few different things to this, okay? 2024 is missing because it went down. It went down. And why would they use 2023 is because they want to inflate that percentage decrease. A higher number. And keep in mind, the way that these gotaways are calculated are different under this Trump administration, as well as encounters. Encounters under the Biden administration meant anybody who approached the border, even for legal asylum claims or any of that nature. They counted that as an encounter. And this is explained here a bit here in the in PBS. It says the White House pointed us to Fox News Post. Let's see. I'm trying to find it. Under Biden's administration, people can make appointments at official ports of entry and can be legally allowed to enter the U.S. to seek asylum. Those appointments still counted as encounters, even though they did not represent illegal immigration. And Trump ended that program on his first day in office and canceled all existing appointments. That is why these numbers are fudged. The numbers that he's using are fudged. Okay? And on the topic of immigration, y'all may have heard about Mahmoud, I'm probably going to mess this up. Mahmoud Khalil. Mahmoud Khalil apparently was part of a big protest. He was here on a green card, and the only way you can get that green card revoked is, in essence, if you are kind of violating a crime. That's the best way to put it. You have to have an underlying crime that you have committed that can then revoke that green card. Okay, in essence, that's the sum up of it all. Marco Rubio stated, this is not about free speech. This is about people that don't have a right to be in the United States to begin with. No one has a right to a student visa. No one has a right to a green card, except for the fact he has a green card. Except for the fact that you are arresting him based on his protesting activities. That is a serious concern, and a serious concern about his right to free speech. A serious concern about that. And Tommy Tuberville says, when it comes to protesters, we got to make sure we treat all of them the same, send them to jail. Let's be very clear here. The Republican Party that I left, that I'm glad every single day that I left, is patently against the First Amendment. They do not believe in First Amendment unless it's them speaking. That's the only time they support First Amendment rights. That's the only time. So make no mistake on that. So anyways, when it comes to immigration, Donald Trump is fudging the numbers, and Republicans do not support the First Amendment. Is this guy just angry about his hairline? Casey, why you gotta make fun of my hairline, bruh? All right, look, I'm getting older. I got a few gray whiskers coming in. Listen, I was born this way. All right? Leave the forehead alone. I didn't have a choice in this. All right? I was born this way. I work with a bunch of right-wing nutcases. They all bashed EVs for years. Orange Man started talking Teslas, and they all want to buy. Paylop, that is because MAGA is a cult. That's a simple explanation. MAGA is a cult of personality. It is a lifestyle. It is a social class. If you do not support what Donald Trump says, you will be exiled from your friend group. It's crazy. Just messing with you, bro. You need to chill out and let things happen. Your party is running on fumes. I know, Casey. Good. Look, the thing is the Democrat Party is absolutely in turmoil. Let's be very clear. The Democrat Party has some good places that they can unite on, right? I think Jasmine Crockett, AOC, some of those people have some ways of uniting. Hakeem Jeffries is up and coming. I think that we're going to see a unification of the Democrat Party in the coming years as these, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it, the old guard of the Democrat Party works their way out, right? Whether it's by primary or whatever. Bro, it's really cool chatting with you and listening to you. I'll hear you another time I'm out. Okay, not a problem, Juan. I appreciate you coming in, buddy. Appreciate the subscription. Hey, guys, real quick on that note, please hit that like button. We're doing good. Look, we got 131 people in here and 27 likes. Let's get it up. 35 likes. Come on. I know y'all can do it. Appreciate you guys. Downvoted. Should do it. Appreciate it. She's on Facebook all day posting hate. What do you mean she's posting hate? Who? AOC? And do we really want to talk about posting hate? Do we really want to talk about that? I had one lined up that I can talk about with Republicans and how they handled these things. I can certainly talk about that one too. This is the funny thing too, is like the way that MAGA clutches their pearls. Okay, Plop. I got you. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Plop. friendly. I'm sorry. Why is your party so angry? When someone is being arrested for their First Amendment rights, shouldn't you be angry too? When you have the constitutional rights being stripped away, wouldn't you be upset too? It's convenient when MAGA chooses to be angry and when they don't. Both parties are radicalized and sadly angry. They're not. I would argue. Sorry, I'm gonna pull this card. I think the MAGA party is far more radicalized than the Democrat Party. If you want to say the Democrat Party is radicalized, by all means. But again, the Democrat Party is far more diverse right now than the Republican Party. The Republican Party is and only is MAGA at this point in time. So he's been prosecuted already? What are you saying he's been prosecuted? What are you talking about? Guys, let's vote for Ron Paul. Can't we all just vote for Vermin Supreme? Both suck, to be honest, but MAGA is worse. Absolutely, King Kong. Welcome in, buddy. All right, so let's go to this. This is the next topic we're going to talk about. Trump's DOJ speech. We are going to watch the Trump DOJ speech. I want to make sure I don't have any kind of logos or anything that play on this. Okay, it should be good. Okay, now it's... I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch this. All right, hold on one second. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to look it up real quick. All right, this should work. All right. So let's talk about this. I want to start by showing the DOJ's values, okay? The DOJ's values are extremely important here, okay? The DOJ's values say independence and impartiality. We work each day to earn the public's trust by following the facts and the law wherever they may lead without prejudice or improper influence. Honesty and integrity. Our employees adhere to the higher standards of ethical behavior, mindful that, as public servants, we must work to earn the trust of and inspire confidence in the public we serve. Respect. Our employees value differences in people and ideas and treat everyone with fairness, dignity, and compassion. Excellence. We work every day to provide the highest levels of service to the American people and to be a responsible steward of the taxpayers' dollars. And Donald Trump gave a speech at the DOJ. Gave a speech to the DOJ. And you can see here, Trump speaks at 3P Great Hall of U.S. Justice Department HQ. This is a space unaccustomed to being the site of political speeches. There are packets of, that next to the podium and signs about fighting that. And they're cranking Guns N' Roses like they did at Trump campaign rallies. I'm not going to play it, the audio, because I'll probably get copyrighted. So now we're going to watch this with some intermittence where I actually go in and
please welcome Attorney General Pamela Bondi.
Hi, please.
Okay. Independence and impartiality are ultimately proven in the courts. Are they bringing the evidence? LAPD has rules against excessive force, and look where that goes. Well, yeah, sure, 3D Joseph Santos. The problem is here, though, is that this is literally a president of the United States speaking at the Department of Justice, and we'll see what the contents of that speech really are. Do you think the stock market being down $5 trillion in 60 days is good? I cannot give any kind of investment advice, but I'll let you kind of come to that conclusion.
Please be seated. Welcome to the Department of Justice. And I love our team. Todd Blanche, Emil Bovey, Kash Patel, soon.
Keep in mind that some of these attorneys that are at the DOJ are actually some of Donald Trump's former personal attorneys.
To be Terry Cole.
But, you know, impartiality, guys, impartiality, totally, right? So.
Adi Saralta. Thank you all. We are going to fight to keep America safe again. President Trump has prioritized tackling our nation's fentanyl crisis, and he has taken decisive action to fight it. I want to thank our U.S. attorneys who are here today, our state attorneys general from all around the country. I see all my
Stephen Lilly said, remember when Trump tweeted that any president who saw a 1,000-point drop in 2 days should resign? Yeah, I don't remember that. I think MAGA's forgotten about that tweet. You know, don't show them that truth, okay? Because that's not the truth, okay? What Trump meant was, only if it's a Democrat.
My friends out there, my colleagues, who will work to prosecute violent criminals, get the drugs off our streets, get the gangs off our streets, and get the illegal aliens out of our country. And thank you to all of our federal, state, and local law enforcement officers who are here today who keep us safe every day and night. Thank you to all of you. Today we have with us one of the most effective drug-seizing teams in the entire country. I said I wish I told them earlier, take them and put them in every major city in the country. Since January, they have saved millions. Continue to fight the cartels. He will never stop fighting for us, and we will never stop fighting for him. And
listen to this.
He will never. So proud to work with a team, and we all work for the greatest president in the history of our country. We are so proud.
Are you serious? The greatest president in our country's history? Okay. Remember, guys, remember those values that we talked about. That's why I had to lay the groundwork there. Remember? Impartiality. Remember what I said there?
Proud to work at the directive of Donald Trump. It is, he will never stop fighting for us, and we will never stop fighting for him and for our country. It is an honor to welcome to the Department of Justice the 45th and the 47th President of the United States.
Oh, if there ever was one. And based on the crowd, I think we broke the all-time record. But as we begin a proud new chapter in the chronicles of...
By the way, guys, the hilarious thing about this is that Donald Trump is reading off of a teleprompter. Remember when MAGA was screaming about Donald Trump reading off a teleprompter, and now here he is reading off of that same teleprompter.
American justice is really something. We're turning the page on 4 long years of corruption, weaponization, and surrender to violent criminals, and we're restoring fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of...
Impartial justice under the Donald Trump administration. Okay. Well, do we want to look at Kash Patel's list that he had? Impartial. Okay. Okay.
Of law, and you're the people that are doing it. Very, very proud of all of you. Under the Trump administration, the DOJ and the FBI will once again become the premier crime-fighting agencies on the face of the earth. People ask me, what am I going to do about law enforcement all the time? The fake news back there, they're asking me that all the time. What am I going to do? And when are you going to do it? And I answer them by saying I've already done most of it by appointing the people that I've appointed. They're sitting right here. They've done most of it. I don't do it. They do it. Right, Pam? I think.
Yeah, I don't believe that Donald Trump does much of anything. Sorry. I'm going to call it like I see it. I think Donald Trump, quite frankly, is like literally like you should see some of the things that they give him. He's pretty much just a PR guy. Like he comes out on stage, great, goes back, sips his Diet Coke and watches TV. I don't believe for a minute that he's really, I agree with him here. He's not, he's not doing anything.
Oh, you are so tough. They just don't know yet. Let me begin by congratulating the incredible people who will lead these historic reforms. And we start with somebody that you just saw, Pam Bondi. She's extraordinary.
Jersey Dion said, what has Biden and Harris done, Vince? Jersey, welcome in. It's actually been the Infrastructure Act. We could look at the IRA, the American Rescue Plan. I believe there's a couple of other bills as well. So yeah. Oh, the CHIPS Act. CHIPS Act. That's what I was thinking of.
And I've known her very well for a long time.
Wow, Robert. Try
I
a
watched
little
her
better.
for a
That's
long
hard.
time in Florida, for years in Florida, and highly experienced. She seems so young, but she's highly experienced, that I can tell you. She was a phenomenal attorney general in Florida, and she's going to do a really amazing job. Also, our new director of the FBI, Kash Patel. Kash, right. A man that I'm very proud of. I've known him and Emil for a long time under tremendous pressure. I saw these guys under some of the most corrupt judges. It's not even.
Yeah, it's funny he's talking about corrupt judges, and now like he's, you know, we can ignore what has just happened with the Eric Adams ordeal, right? We'll ignore that corruption going on. Well, we'll just ignore the fact that the DOJ asked the judge to drop the charges against Eric Adams because they needed Eric Adams to enforce Donald Trump's immigration policy. We'll ignore that.
Imaginable how corrupt they were, and these guys never wilted. They were not shy. They fought. They weren't afraid, and they were brilliant. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and Principal Associate Deputy Attorney Emil Beauvais, and thank you both very.
And I believe Beauvais was the guy that had sent the letter to New York. I believe he's the guy who did that.
Right. Great people.
Neil Brown said Biden's policies were all trash. President Trump has accomplished far more in 6 weeks than any of the presidents have done in 4 years. You can't name one single bill that Donald Trump has signed in the past 6 weeks. It's all been executive orders, and in some cases, unconstitutional executive orders. So try again.
They're great people. The Chief of Staff, who's so highly respected, Chad Mizell. Thank you, Chad. Chad? Yeah. Thank you, Chad. Our next administrator of the DEA, Terry Cole. Terry? Thank you, Terry. Good luck. Going to do great. Senior counsel to the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights. Boy, I've been watching.
This is like, you know, like y'all ever seen those old school movies that like start playing the credits at the beginning of the movie? That's what this reminds me of. I'm just like, I want to skip through it.
Him on television. Assistant Attorney General Gail Slater. Joined by many. Just see very quickly. Here's a man who went through hell by the Chuck Grass. House Majority Whip guy, Reschenthaler. One of
Oh my
General
God!
Ken Paxton, thank you very much. Early on, and she's really become a big star. Steve Marshall, Dave Sunday, and Stephen has become a big star. Right, Em?
How many people is he going to sit there and thank? My God. Yo, what is this? Get over this.
Steve Miller. Justice was one of America's most revered institutions.
Here we
The men
go.
and women of the DOJ brought down the mafia, hunted down the killers, kingpins, and spies, tracked down terrorists, and
It must be so hard to see such success. By what metric, Ray? What success? It's been nothing but a failure so far.
traitors, and tore down corrupt political machines all across America. This department commanded the respect and admiration of the entire world. And with Pam and Cash and all of the people I introduced and far more, big numbers, and all of you sitting back there, I recognize so many of you. But with you leading the way, it'll soon be the most admired
Thank you,
and
John.
most respected of all. You're going to be more respected, and I really believe that there's also a lot of things to solve.
I just want some
a lot of
content.
problems to
Like, give me
solve.
something.
But that's going to put you in the upper tier and maybe the top tier, and I believe that's going to happen. So proud of the
Trolling for
people in
what, Jersey? I'm over here feeling like I'm being trolled watching this. Okay? I know he gets into some of the meat and potatoes of everything, but this is like,
this room.
I'm glad I'm
But
not
first,
watching all
we
12. I
must
haven't
be
watched all
honest
12
about
minutes.
the lies and abuses that have occurred within these walls. Unfortunately, in recent years, a corrupt group of hacks and radicals within the ranks of the American
Once again, he keeps talking about corruption, even though we just saw the whole Eric Adams thing unfold. Just keep that in mind.
obliterated the trust and goodwill built up over generations. They weaponized the vast powers of our intelligence and law enforcement agencies to try and thwart the will of the American people. You remember the 51 intelligence agents that said, as an example, that
Not
Hunter
gonna happen,
Biden's
Samuel.
laptop from hell came from Russia when they knew it came right from his bedroom. They knew that. It was a big lie, and they knew it so well. They spied on my campaign, launched one hoax and disinformation operation after another, broke the law.
Wow. He's really upset.
on a colossal scale, persecuted my family, staff, and supporters, raided my home, Mar-a-Lago.
I mean, you're exactly right, Ms. Mandy. This is nothing but a political speech. He's just airing grievances that he's had because of the fact that the DOJ went after him. Understandably so. But again, here we go. And he's like raiding my home.
And did everything within their power to prevent me from becoming the president of the United States. With the help of radicals like Mark Elias, Mark Pomerantz. And these are people that nobody's ever seen anything like it. So many others. But these are people that are bad people, really bad people. They tried to turn America into a corrupt communist and third world country. But in the end, the thugs failed.
See, and this is the thing. When you guys in chat right now are like, oh, Vince, look, what about the Democrats, divisive rhetoric, and the Democrats hate? Listen to how Donald Trump is talking right now. Just listen to how Donald Trump is talking. And I don't want to hear anything else about MAGA complaining about how hateful Democrats' rhetoric is when they're talking about communists. And he's sitting here talking about how he was unjust. Spare me. This is super divisive rhetoric. Super divisive rhetoric.
And the truth won. Freedom won.
And keep in mind, he's going after the integrity of the DOJ. And again, just because you put somebody in place like this, you've already shown some corruption with the Eric Adams ordeal.
Justice won, democracy won, and above all, the American people won. There could be no more heinous
We lost. We didn't win.
betrayal of American values than to use the law to terrorize the innocent and reward the wicked. And that's what they were doing.
Almost like going after protesters, like Donald Trump has done. That's not not a big deal or anything, right?
At a level that's never been seen before. And it's exactly what you saw with Joe Biden, Merrick Garland, and their cronies to do the building of the last 4 years. What they've ripped down is incalculable. But what you're going to build up is likewise something that will be breaking all sorts of records. They set loose violent criminals while targeting patriotic parents at school board meetings. They dropped charges against Antifa and Hamas supporters while labeling traditional.
Okay, so first of all, the school board meeting was because they weren't arrested because of what they're saying. They were arrested because they were acting extremely rowdy, right? You act a damn fool in public, you cause a disturbance, you're going to be arrested. And second of all, to be clear here, what was it? Who said it? I just lost my train of thought. The Antifa guys that are not being arrested, they were arrested. We saw mugshots all over Twitter of these mugshots. They were arrested, but they were arrested for curfew violations. If they can prove that there was some kind of a greater crime, in some cases they were. We saw some people arrested and charged with arson. But the problem is that nobody follows up. Nobody follows up with these protests. They just sit there and scream like, how many people were not arrested at BLM? Well, maybe you should follow up with that and see exactly how many people were arrested and how many people were charged and how many people were sentenced. Now, keep in mind that these crimes, there are sentencing guidelines to which they have to follow. But most people don't want to actually, read up on that. If you're charged with a certain crime and it's your first time doing that, you're probably more than likely to get probation. That's just how the justice system works. We saw Donald Trump get away with numerous crimes. And for all intents and purposes, for his New York trial, he was sentenced to basically, time served. So it's crazy.
Catholic says domestic terrorists to Catholics. We did very well with the Catholic vote, so I want to thank them for that. They really did. Record numbers. I would say, what's with the Catholics? They're really after the Catholics, so I don't know. They were after a lot of people. Maybe they didn't even know why. They imported illegal alien murderers, drug dealers, and child predators from all over the world.
Imported? Where's the evidence for this? Where is the evidence that the Joe Biden and Kamala Harris administration imported these individuals? And again, this is another way, and has been for all of his political speeches that he's doing right here at the DOJ, even though the DOJ is supposed to be impartial. He's trying to label a small few for the whole. He's trying to label all undocumented immigrants as these kinds of individuals, these kinds of characters. No. Statistically speaking, a vast majority of people that are in this country, undocumented or illegal, whatever you want to call it, are here and contributing to society. You want to talk about the economy? That's a whole other conversation, but at all contributing to society. They are contributing.
World to come into our country while putting elderly Christians and pro-life activists on trial for singing hymns and for saying prayers. They went to jail for that.
True, sarcastic. Like he imported the Tate Bros. Like he imported the Tate Bros. You're so on point. What a Weasley little liar, dude.
That our predecessors turned this Department of Justice into the Department of Injustice. But I stand before you today to declare that those days are over, and they are never going to come back. They're never coming back. So now, as the chief law enforcement officer in our country, I will insist upon and demand full and complete accountability for the wrongs and abuses that have occurred. The American people have given us a mandate like few people thought possible. We won every single swing state. We won the popular vote by millions and millions of people.
Millions and millions of people. This man won by 1.5%. 1.5%. Okay, he did not win by a landslide. He was not given a mandate to act like a dictator. That's not what this was given. This is insane. This is insane. The way they talk and Republicans talk is as if they were given a 90% like win, as if they won by like 90%. No, they didn't win by 90%. They won by 1.5% and didn't even get over 50% of the vote. They didn't even get over 50% of the vote. Maybe Kamala wasn't such a great candidate. Think about it. Of course you won't. No, I think Kamala Harris was a good candidate. The problem is I think that she was far too moderate for the Democratic base. In fact, Donald Trump barely gained any votes from 2020. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he might have gained a few million, if that. He didn't gain much at all. So, and if you look at how Kamala Harris did compared to 2016, she outperformed Hillary Clinton significantly. I think by like almost 8 million votes or something like that. It's insane.
We won districts, 2,750. Think of that, 2,750 districts compared to 505. So we won it at levels that have, I don't believe, ever seen before. That's the one where you see the map of the United States and it's all red. Red for Republican, not for communist.
He is trying to run a third term, Caleb. He may not state it, but
they would like it to
Republicans
turn red
want
for
him to.
communist, but it didn't work out that way. The American people have given us a mandate, and really just a far-reaching investigation is what they are demanding into the corruption of our system. And that's exactly, I'm sure, what Pam and Cash and everyone else mentioned here and not mentioned is going to be doing. We will expel the rogue actors and corrupt forces from our...
AKA political retribution. That's what it looks like Donald Trump is trying to do. It looks like he's trying to say, look, you went after me, I'm coming after you. It's political retribution.
Government, we will expose and very much
It's funny to me to see you guys in chat. I know you guys are trolling. That's fine. I'm going to feed you guys a little bit. It's interesting to me to see that you guys are like, the tears. All I heard from y'all for the past 4 years is nothing but tears. I remember there was an event, I believe, that took place, in January of 2021, something like that. I think that was the biggest tear fest I had ever seen. Nothing but tears and crying about a loss.
Expose their egregious crimes and severe misconduct, of which was levels you've never seen anything like it. It's going to be legendary. It's going to also be legendary.
Nah, we
for
good
the
now.
that
Yeah, now y'all are
able
good.
To
Yeah, because y'all won.
Seek it out and bring justice. We will restore
I know,
the
King Kong,
scales
they're
of
probably not
justice in
trolling.
America, and we will ensure that such abuses never happen again in our country. And that's why on day one I signed an executive order banning all government censorship and directing the removal of every bureaucrat who conspired to attack free speech and many other things.
Wait, bureaucrats that are going after free speech. I'm going to spoil something here. He's going to go after CNN and MSNBC in this very speech. And he's getting upset about people going after the First Amendment. He's quite literally, unequivocally going after the First Amendment. Keep in mind, the Muhammad Khalil guy or whatever that was, arrested, was arrested due in part to these protests. A First Amendment protected form of speech.
And values in America. My administration stripped the security clearances of the disgraced intelligence agents who lied about Hunter Biden's laptop from hell. We revoked the clearance.
What I'm curious about is all of the people that screamed about lawfare Where are you screaming about lawfare now? Or are you just saying that it's okay because Donald Trump is doing it? Or that it was done unto him so he can do it back to them? Even though it is still lawfare by textbook definition. Why are you okay with it one way but not the other? Oh, that's right. Because, again, it's Donald Trump.
Appearances of deranged Jack Smith.
Hey, do me a favor, guys. Right now we're at 200 watchers. Please go ahead and hit that like button, please, for me.
Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, and the crooked law firms that aided their partisan persecutions. And I went through it. These are state and city courts, and the corruption is unbelievable. We also terminated the clearances of the Biden crime family and Joe Biden himself. He didn't deserve it. In fact, he was essentially found guilty, but they said he was incompetent, and therefore let's not find him guilty, I guess. Nobody.
Yeah, Donald Trump, by the way, guys, is like only 4 years younger than Joe Biden and has yet to have released any of his cognitive results.
Nobody knows what that ruling was, but I didn't want any part of it.
I have a job, Schmidt.
This
This is my second job.
Than what they found with
I'm
him.
a baller.
They said he didn't know what the hell he was doing, and therefore he's let him go. I said, you know, I'd rather be convicted, Pam. I think that was not. I said, please convict me. Don't say that. I pardoned hundreds of political prisoners who had been grossly mistreated. We removed the
Yeah, back the blue, and it's rich to me to see him standing in front of the Department of Justice seal justice. Where is justice when you go and pardon all of these people, some of whom assaulted police officers? Where's the justice in that? There's not a justice in that. That is subverting justice. I have an issue with pardons, including Biden's pardons. I am okay with them in the fact that I think that, hey, look, if you have that power, use it effectively like that. But don't stand in front of the Department of Justice's seal and say that you're about justice and not corruption, and then mention about pardoning J6ers. Spare me with that.
senior FBI officials who misdirected resources to send SWAT teams after grandmothers and J6.
King Kong asked, Vince, why do you choose sides and label yourself when you could just vote for who's good for America? Because guess what? I don't attribute myself to a side. I am by nature so far a liberal. I have voted Republican up until this year. This was the first year I ever voted for a Democrat. First year ever. I voted Romney. I voted Trump. I voted Cruz. I voted Trump. Didn't vote in 2022. And I voted in 2024 for a Democrat. I voted for Kamala Harris and Colin Allred. I was tired of seeing the direction in which my Republican Party was going and seeing that they were giving in to the authoritarian right. That is why I decided to stand up and say I'm voting for Kamala Harris and Colin Allred.
Hostages, and it was a great honor for me to fire. I will tell you this: a great honor to fire James Comey. A great, great honor. That was nothing. There was no better day. A lot of people said, "Oh, that's too bad you did that," and they said that's going to be. And you know what? A year later, they said that actually saved the administration because the level of corrupt things that we learned after that turned out to be that they were doing, in fact, really bad things. He was a terrible person, did terrible things, and persecuted people, and all in the guise of being an angel, but he wasn't an angel. We created a brand new DOJ task force and anti-Christian bias. And under Director Patel, we're getting the FBI agents out of the headquarters in Washington, D.C. and back.
That was subtle. What was that? Did y'all hear that? That was super quick and super subtle. Hold on.
And persecuted people, and all in the guise of being an angel, but he wasn't an angel. We created a brand new DOJ task force and anti-Christian bias. And under Director Patel.
Wait, I'm sorry, I missed that. I was reading chat at the same time. What was that?
Brand new DOJ task force and anti-Christian bias. And under.
Anti-Christian bias? Is that the task force that they're putting together? What? I don't know about that one, Chief. That's kind of weird and sus. Caleb Pound said, I agree. I voted McCain and didn't vote in 12. Voted Kasich in 16 primaries. Will never vote Republican again because of Trump MAGA. 100% Caleb. Hey, nothing wrong with that. And I know it's a big step. Anybody who's ever voted Democrat from a Republican base, it's tough. Once you voted for Trump, it's like you have all of a sudden your friends and family are like, why did you vote Democrat? Why did you vote Democrat? It's insane.
Director Patel, we're getting the FBI agents out of the headquarters in Washington, D.C. and back on the streets in pursuit of dangerous criminals where they belong and where they want to be. And, you have that big FBI building, and it's a very big building, and they were going to build an FBI headquarters 3 hours away in Maryland, a liberal state, but that has no bearing on what I'm about to
Steve.
say. But we're going to stop it. Not going to let that happen. We're going to build another big FBI building right where it is, which would have been the right place because the FBI and the DOJ have to be near each other. You can't That's one thing I did learn.
Guys, can y'all remind me what Doge stands for? I believe it's Department of Government Efficiency. How is this efficient when you have an existing FBI building to now build a new building next to? Is that efficient? 'Cause,
From this persecution, the FBI and the DOJ work together. Now, in my case, they work together for bad purposes, but they do. They were always together. So how can you have one that's 3 hours away?
To be fair, Joseph, that's true. I mean, if it is just simply an anti-discrimination thing, but they're kind of sugarcoating or masking it as anti-Christian, maybe. But the problem is that labeling it as such can have implications, at least in court. So they have to be careful, just like they saw with Doge. Labeling it as an anti-Christian task force it can be problematic, depending on how they enforce that.
But one thing I said to Cash, well, we're going to get a great building built. It's going to be a magnificent building. He said, sir, we don't need that kind of room. I said, what do you mean? He said, I'm just going to take a old Department of Commerce building that's about 25% the size, and that's what I need. We're going to have the best staff that you've ever seen, and that's what I need. It's in a nice location, but I don't need that big building. Why don't you just sell the site to somebody? And we're going to be very happy. And they want to have far fewer people. But we also want to have them in D.C. And if for no other reason, we like having law enforcement walking the streets of our capital. Because when the bad guys are out there and they see there's an FBI agent, that's the ultimate in law enforcement. And they're not going to be acting so bad. We're cleaning up our city. We're cleaning up this great capital. And we're not going to have crime. And we're not going to stand for crime. And we're going to take the graffiti down. And we're already taking the tents down. And we're working with the administration. And if the administration can't do the job, we're going to have to take it back and run it through the federal government. But we hope the administration.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I mean, graffiti to me, I've always found it kind of strange. I get it. It can kind of like deface or like, I mean, some graffiti is pretty badass. But some is like whatever. I just think this is like a.
Administration is going to be able. So far, they've been doing very well. The mayor's been doing a good job. We said there are tents galore right opposite the State Department.
Well, the funny thing about that, Joseph, you're saying I have a shirt that says Jesus don't love ugly that I'm going to wear to work sometime next week. I'm trying to get fired. The problem with that is that like I think one of the things we've seen is that a lot of MAGA is trying to tout this new Jesus movement thing that they're all of a sudden uncovered, even though a lot of the principles on which they stand does not really align with Christian theology. It's really strange. I've had this conversation just the other night with some friends about this idea behind the Christian ideology and how MAGA is patently against it.
They have to come down, and they took them down right away. And so far, so good. But we want to have a capital that can be the talk of the world. When Prime Minister Modi of India, when the President of France, and all of these people, the head of Prime Minister of United Kingdom, they all came to see me over the last week and a half. And when they come in, I had the route run. I didn't want to have them see tents. I didn't want to have them see graffiti. I didn't want to have them see broken barriers and potholes in the roads. And we had it looking beautiful. And we're going to do that for the city. And we're going to have a crime-free capital. When people come here, they're not going to be mugged or.
At first, he's like, I cleaned it up. And then he's like, I'm going to clean it up. Okay. All right. Whatever.
Shot or raped. They're going to have a crime-free capital again. It's going to be cleaner and better and safer than it ever was. And it's not going to.
You know when it's funny too, because the Capitol or whatever was also sites of one of the most had a bunch of criminals there at one point, right? I believe it was January of 2021. I believe it was your supporters that completely disrupted that area. I don't know. Just saying though.
Take us too long. There's a new phenomena that is
right,
taking place
right, exactly.
with these violent, vicious lawyers that we have all over.
Well, he's not. I mean, depends on. I mean, yeah.
Play the ref. You know what playing the ref is? Like the great Bobby Knight basketball coach. He'd scream and scream at the ref. He'd scream. I watched it. By the way, I love Bobby Knight because he endorsed me. And having Bobby Knight's endorsement.
What he just says, everybody who endorses me, I love.
In Indiana was an extremely good thing. A friend of mine said I was running in Indiana at the time. This was early on, 2016, and I was doing great. But friend came up and said, you know Bobby Knight? I said, no, I don't, but I hear he was a tough cookie. He said, not only tough, he was beyond tough, but he's the most popular guy you can imagine. It turned out he wanted to endorse me. He called me About 2 years before, he said, "Sir, I'd
You're
like to endorse
100%
you." I
right,
said, "Is this
Rostro.
really Bobby Knight?"
There's
I said,
no
"It's me.
real
I can
way
tell
to
it was Bobby
end
Knight."
the crime.
He
You
had
can
been known
reduce
for
it,
throwing
though.
the chair across the court and slapping a player. Can't do things like that, right? And the man that came in fired him. He was a new administrator for the college. That guy didn't last very long. They were like 14-0, and they fired Coach Knight. That was not good, but he had a little chip in his shoulder. But he loved Trump, and he came in, and he said, "I'd love to endorse you." He said, "If you ever run, please call me." So he said, "You know Bobby Knight?" I said,
Yes, Steve, the churches have become political. Not when they become political, they are political. Listen, as someone who is a Christian, okay, and grew up Christian my entire life, churches, especially in some areas, are inadvertently political. I've seen political rallies at churches, by the way. I won't say where, but I have seen them. Flyers for them. Political people coming to and giving a rally speech at churches. I don't doubt at all that I believe Kamala Harris might have even done the same as well. So,
"Well, I don't know," but he called me a couple of years ago. It was an amazing phenomenon. I took his number, and on each side of my desk in New York, I had stacks of paper, like nice and neat, but about 2 feet high each. And I
Not
said,
in
I
the
wrote his number down, and I put it
South.
here 2 years ago. And I said, "Let me see if I can find it." It was
Yeah,
almost
in
like
the
a miracle.
South.
I had other miracles that happened too. My ear is still throbbing. That was a miracle. That was a miracle also, wasn't it? That was a miracle also. Thank you. Thank you, Leo. Thank you. Thank you. So he said, "Bobby Knight." So I said, I put his name down, and I wrote it down. It's in one of these stacks.
Oh, we're still talking about
It would
Bobby
have to
Knight.
be 2,000-3,000
Mountain,
pages
Texas,
in each
brother.
stack. I lifted it up, the first
We
one.
don't-
Had no
we
idea.
don't know what
And
that's
there was his
talking
name on a
about.
little card, Bobby Knight with his number. It was like incredible. I tell that story all the time. And I called him and dialed the number. He said, "I've been waiting for you to call." And he went out and he made a speech for me in a packed arena in Indiana, and it was over. It was over. He was a tough guy. He actually went a little far, If you remember, he made a great speech because he was actually a motivator. "Oh, this is trouble. Why is he?" And he said, "Let me tell you something about this guy Trump. He's going to use," and that's the kind of guy. And he walked off the stage. I said, "I think I'm in big trouble, Pam." That was not good, but it worked out okay. In the meantime, we won the state in a landslide, and it was great, and it was just an amazing period of time. But this is the most amazing period of time. I think this is more.
Indiana in a landslide? Hold on. I don't believe that. Hold on. Let's see. Did he win Indiana by a landslide? Oh, my goodness. My dog's at it again. Down. Dog's at it again. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Oh my goodness. Get it together, guys. Get it together. I'm going to get it together. Oh. I'm blinded. Blinded by the light. All right, I'm back. All right, did Indiana win by a landslide? Indiana. Let's see. I guess he did win Indiana by a landslide, huh? No, not even really. No, I guess you could say a landslide. He won by a pretty good margin. Okay.
Amazing. What's taken place is more amazing. I think it's more consequential. And if we do the job, one of the
Drain the swamp, MAGA 2025. Trump is the swamp, Adrian.
big media outlets said what we did was the most consequential election in the last 129 years. Well, if we do the job that we're all capable of doing, I think it's going to prove to be that and then some. And that's what we want to do. We have a real big shot at making this country so great, so great. What happened to our country was so sad. What they've done in 4 years to our country with the borders, with Afghanistan, the most embarrassing period of time, allowing the Russian situation, was never going to happen with Ukraine, allowing October 7th to happen, would have never happened because under me, Iran was totally broke. They had no money. They weren't giving any money to Hamas or Hezbollah. It was totally broke. But allowing inflation, look at what inflation's done to people, been so devastating. And now you see that, by the way, price of eggs is down 35% in the last week and a half. We're doing a good job. Brooke is doing a good job. Brooke Rollins and everybody. And inflation's down, interest rates are down, gasoline has come down to a level that we haven't seen in a long time. And all things that we wanted to do, because then everything else is going to be coming down. We want it to come down. We want bacon to come down, and groceries, a term I used to use. It's sort of an old-fashioned term, but I used to use it on the campaign trail. Those last 90 perfect, beautiful days, we just hit it.
Sad, really, what you do. Sit down in your pathetic room looking for the slightest mistake by the president. Okay, first of all I had heard for the past 4 years was about when Joe Biden misspoke, or when Joe Biden went up the steps the wrong way, or when Joe Biden ran. So spare me. I am tired of hearing about MAGA crying about Joe Biden for the past 4 or 5 years, and all of a sudden acting as if we're just to forget about that. Spare me.
And I want to thank Susie. You have done a great job, Susie Wiles. Great job, Susie. A big magazine just named her the most powerful woman in the world, and that's okay with me. She is the most powerful woman. You think about it, John, right?
Exactly, Miss Mandy. These are political speeches at the Department of Justice.
90 days. It was a perfect 90 days, and it was a great result. But we want to
Bidenomics,
put that result to good use by doing a phenomenal job. And I want to tell you that Todd and Emil know this very well. We had an amazing judge in Florida, and her name is Eileen Cannon. And I didn't know her. I still don't know her. I don't believe I ever spoke to her, even during the trial. But I did appoint her. It's not a different context,
Fernando.
And these fake lawyers, these horrible human beings, were hitting her so hard, public relations-wise. They were playing the ref.
How sad of you to exercise a First Amendment protection, Vince. People like you are the reason that damn piece of paper won't go away. Right?
I don't think it's legal. I don't think it's legal. They might as well go out and just shout it in a courthouse. They were saying she was slow.
All right, do me a favor, guys. We're at 49 likes. Can we get, by the end of this, we're still at 29 minutes of an hour and 11-minute video. Let's get it to 100 likes. 100 by the end of this video, okay? That's what we can do.
She wasn't smart. She was totally biased. She loved Trump. I didn't know her, other than I saw her the couple of days that I was in court, and I thought her decorum was amazing. Anything bad they could say, though, they were saying about her, it was whatever they could say bad about a human being, well, made up. Because actually she was brilliant. She moved quickly. She was the absolute model of what a judge should be. And she was strong and tough. And how do you get them to stop if you're a judge? How do you get them to stop with the playing the ref? Bobby Knight would play the ref. That's why I brought up the Bobby Knight story. He would play the ref. He'd scream at the ref. He'd scream so hard. Oh, boy, it was terrible, actually. And
he's still talking about Bobby Knight. Gas prices have gone down at the rates we haven't seen in a long time. They're still really high. It's $2.50 to $3.50 is the lowest it's been. That's insane. Yeah, no, Rastro. That's the thing too, is gas prices have come down under Joe Biden. They're definitely not back to 2020 levels. And again, the trend was, again, thanks to Joe Biden and maybe a little bit of Trump, gas prices are coming down, and they had been going down for a while. Yeah. So again, it's kind of ignoring the trend and stuff. This clown has the nerve. Eggs here are $10.59 for a dozen, and like $40 for the big carton. What? And all he's doing is giving vibes. Well, he always had those vibes. We're doomed. Yeah. There's a lot of authoritarian vibes from here, and you'll see more. I'm waiting for it, where he talks about CNN and MSNBC. Right now, he's just like gloating about all the people that love him.
People would come up, his assistant coaches would come up to place. Coach, don't do that. Don't do it. He said he's not going to change his tune, coach. He called it. He's not changing. I don't care. And he's screaming. That's when he threw the chair. He starts going crazy. And he said, no, he's not going to change this time, but he's going to change for the next play. And sure as hell he did. You know, Bobby, by the way, had the last undefeated team in basketball. And relatively speaking, you know, he had a team. He always had a team. He never had that. Well, he had a couple of great players, obviously, with some top NBA players, but very few relatively. He had a team, but he won the national championship 3 times. But he had the last undefeated team in basketball. And he would play the ref, and he would scream at him. He knew exactly what he was doing. They're doing the same thing. He said, no, he's not going to change now, but he's going to change for the next one. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to scare the hell. They wanted to scare the hell out of the judges, and they do it. And how do you stop it if you're a judge? Because you want to go home, you have a family, you have children, and the New York Times will write whatever these people say, and the Washington Post, and the Wall Street Journal, and MSDNC, and the fake news CNN, and ABC, CBS, and NBC, and they'll write whatever they say. And what do you do to get rid of it? You convict Trump. All you have to do is be really tough on him and ultimately convict him, and they leave you alone. It's totally illegal what they do. I just hope you can all watch for it, but it's totally illegal. And it was so unfair what they were doing to her. But they do it all the time with judges. But in her case...
Well, Professor, you got to speed homie up so he don't sound as crazy. Yeah, like here, I'll show you all normal speed. I'm at 1.5 speed right now. Okay? Here's normal.
She was very courageous, and it only made her angry. Wouldn't you say? It just made her angry. She didn't like it. A lot of them say, oh, please don't say that about me. My family, what's my husband going to say? What's my wife going to say, or my kids? Please don't say that.
You want me to speed it up now?
It had absolutely no impact on her in the case against me, which was a case. I will not use a bad word. I promised my wife.
I thought that was
1.25. The case against me was bullshit. And she correctly dismissed it. She correctly. Look at Emil. He's looking. That's interesting. But these two guys were warriors. You got a warrior here. You got two warriors. I can tell you that. You got a whole bunch of them. But and they wouldn't quit. They wouldn't take no for an answer. They just wouldn't quit. These two people right up here, some others that are involved with it indirectly. And what the lawyers do is they're doing it to the Supreme Court justices, hoping that they'll be overcome by the horrible things they say about them. They say things about Supreme Court justices and judges that are just horrible. They're playing the ref. Remember the way they treated Justice Thomas and Justice Alito and Justice Kavanaugh, Justice Gorsuch.
Judges are going after him again.
Chief Justice Roberts gets treated unbelievably badly, and they're hoping that they can sway them to go along because, again, what do? They're humans. You know, it would be wonderful if everybody was just a perfect computer machine, but they're not. They're humans, and they don't want to be accused of many, many things, including gross incompetence. They don't like it, and they don't want it. There's not much they can do about it. You know, they're in a position they can't really fight back really very well. And so what they do is sometimes they get weak. I would say a majority, maybe, of the times. That's why I'm so impressed with Judge Cannon in Florida, how strong she was, how she held up. It actually made her more resolute than anything I've seen. It was amazing because they were hitting her so hard. It was so sad to watch this.
Hey, look, Steve, my dog wanted to be let in, okay? I had to let her in.
But it's sad what they do to other judges. It's very sad what they do to the Supreme Court. And a lot of the judges that I had, if you look at them, they take tremendous abuse in the New York Times and the Washington Post, all of the different networks. They take.
Adrian, I guess you need all this bull to feel better about your. Oh, no, not again. Oh, my gosh. What? Go. Hold on 1 second. My dog's going nuts trying to get something. Ah! She's trying to grab a snack. I'm trying to keep her from getting the snack. Okay. Let's try this again. Shall we? Or shall we not? All right. It is the dog show now, man. She's going nuts.
Such abuse. And honestly, they're very simply, they're afraid of bad publicity. They don't want bad publicity.
Sorry, guys.
And it's truly interference, in my opinion, and it should be illegal, and it probably is illegal in some form. There's no difference than speaking to a judge or shouting to a judge or doing whatever you have to do in a courthouse. They're doing it behind the back. They're usually doing it anonymously. They're saying anonymously off the record, the judge is no good, but everybody knows where it's coming from.
Filthy, I would say getting rid of constitutional protections is probably a little bit dictatorial. That's just me.
And it's totally coordinated. It's a campaign, and it's by the same scum that you have been dealing with for years, like guys like Andrew Weissman, deranged Jack Smith. There's a guy named Norm Eisen.
This is sped up,
like. His name is Norm Eisen.
We're at 1.5.
He's been after me for 9 years. Now, Crew is a charitable organization. And the reason I'm saying this, Todd, is I'm only going to get one chance to say this.
Here.
But these are bad people. I don't know who he is. I don't know what he looks like. But everything I read is Norm Eisen of Crew.
That's normal.
And Crew is a charitable organization. Right. And that's a political thing. His whole life is to get Donald Trump. And he's been vicious and violent. And he's trying, and he probably had pretty good success over the years.
You lost. Accept it. MAGA 2025. Keep draining the swamp. This is the swamp right here. This is the swamp right here.
President. Am I here because I'm president? But we had to take all of that abuse. Even during the trials, we had to take tremendous abuse. Like, these wonderful guys, they're not legitimate people. They're horrible people. They're scum. And you have to know that. And you're going to have these cases where you can't allow yourselves to be deflected. You just can't let it happen. You have such a higher calling. And I believe that CNN and MSDNC, who literally write 97.6% bad about me, are political arms of the Democrat Party. And in my opinion, they're really corrupt and they're illegal. What they do is illegal. It makes no difference how big a victory I had. I can have the biggest victory in history. It makes no difference what kind of a failure the other side has. These people are going to go after me. And I said it during the big speech on Tuesday night. I said about Democrats, and I don't like that. I have great respect, by the way, for what Schumer did today. He went out and he said that they have to vote with the Republicans because it's the right thing to do. I couldn't believe what I heard. But, I think he's going to get some credit for it. Let's see what happens tonight with the big vote as it comes. But these networks.
Is there an option to put CDS as one of your hashtags?
Are really no different than a highly.
No, but you can, because right now MAGA is suffering from an excessive amount of TDS. It's pretty crazy.
Paid political operative. And it has to stop. It has to be illegal. It's influencing judges. And it's really changing law, and it just cannot be legal. I don't believe it's legal. And they do it in total coordination with each other. And everything we do, we're restoring law, restoring order, and restoring public safety in America. That's what we want to do. And we're bringing honor and integrity and accountability back to the highest levels of the FBI, DOJ, and throughout our government. We're bringing our country back faster than anyone ever thought possible. We're working so hard at doing it, and we want fairness in the courts. The courts are a big factor.
He's not
the elections,
a dictator,
totally
but he's actually acting authoritarian.
We have to have honest elections. We have to have borders. And we have to have courts and
it is sped
law
up.
that's fair.
What's TDS?
Well, we're not going to have a country.
TDS
Joe Biden
is
got us into
what
a real
MAGA
mess with
experiences
Russia
every day.
and everything else he
Trump derangement syndrome. Trump derangement syndrome.
did, frankly, but he didn't know about it, and he, generally speaking, signed it with AutoPen. So how would he know? That AutoPen is a big deal. I don't know. You know, they're having who's doing this? So when my people come up, Will and all of the people, Steve, they come up and, sir, this is an executive order. They explain it to me, and 90% of the time I sign it. 99% of the time I say do it, but they come up and I sign it. But you don't use AutoPen. It's number one, it's disrespectful to the office. Number two, maybe it's not even valid because who's getting him to sign? He had no idea what the hell he was doing. If he did, all of these bad things wouldn't be happening right now. But we're going to get you back into a great position, and we've already started. They say that we had the most successful first month of presidency. Not a long time, but it's still a lot. It's like if you're a golfer, sinking a 3-foot putt on the first hole gives you confidence to sink something on the second hole. But if you miss that,
Trump will know a lot about golf, considering that he has been taking vacation every single weekend. But MAGA will not complain about the vacations that Donald Trump is taking because it's Donald Trump. Thus why we say that MAGA suffers from Trump derangement syndrome.
that first putt, you don't like to have the putt on the second hole and the third hole. It could be a very bad experience. It's nice to get that first month. And now
the
we
judges
have
have tried to
Now we have a month
undermine
and
a
half,
sitting president.
and it's going
I don't
really,
remember
really well. I can tell you
Trump
it's a
being
little
a sitting
secret, although the cameras are blazing
president.
back there, so it's not that much. But I think we're doing well,
when
as
he was
you
on
have been hearing
trial.
about Ukraine. I think
That's
we're
right.
doing now well with Russia. We're speaking with President
Who do you
Putin.
got
We
from
wanna
our
get the
March
war
Madness?
over.
I don't watch basketball.
Not
I
only
know
have we
about
spent maybe
college
$350
basketball,
billion
but I don't.
to Europe. Think of that, $350 billion to $100 billion, and yet we're across the ocean far away, so it shouldn't have been that way. But Biden let that happen too. And we're getting a deal where we're going to get that back. But much more importantly are the lives that we're talking about. On average, 2,000 young people are being killed every single day. Now, they're not from here. They're from nowhere close to here, but they're young people. They're human beings, and they have parents. They have sisters and brothers, the mothers and fathers, the friends and the
Bro, you ain't realized your own side plays you like a fiddle, but you hate Trump. That's projection. It's glorious projection. If only you knew that Donald Trump only used you guys to get into power. If only
families,
you knew.
the towns where they grew up, and they're losing on average 2,000, even 2,500 a week. And I want to get it stopped. And we've had some very good calls today with Russia and with Ukraine. They've agreed for a ceasefire if we can get it with Russia, and it's not easy. It's a tough one, but I think we're doing it. And as the Secretary General said yesterday of NATO, a terrific guy, he said,
Remember, guys, he was supposed to end the war in Ukraine on day one, but where is MAGA to hold Donald Trump accountable? Guess what? MAGA doesn't care.
without Trump, we wouldn't be talking about it. It would just go on for years, and millions more people, millions of people have been killed, but millions more people would be killed. And he said it was a great honor. Without me, it would just keep going on. We're looking for the ceasefire now with Russia, and we've had some very good talks about it.
Josh, in this case, I think Donald Trump is better not to speak as much as the president did for the past 4 years. Why? Because Donald Trump inadvertently has proven his court cases wrong. For example, he told Doge that he was going to, or his administration argued in court that Elon Musk was not in charge of Doge, only to then go to the state of the, or not State of the Union, but the address to Congress. He did that, and he announced that Elon Musk is in charge of Doge. He should probably stick to the script and not go off of the script, because it gets him in more and more trouble. Just
We've
saying.
had some very good responses. And I can tell you that there was a case where there would have been no war if I were president.
It's not that MAGA
and it's
doesn't
just
care, it's that MAGA
100% would
disagrees
not
with
have
you.
happened,
No.
would never have happened. I used to speak to President
MAGA
Putin a lot about
disagrees
it.
with
I
me,
said,
but they also
do it.
don't care about
do
the
it. I won't tell you what
hypocrisy.
the
They
consequence
just
was.
want
I won't
their
tell
guy
you
to
what
win.
he
It's
said.
a
If he
football
believed even
game
5%
to
of what I
MAGA.
said, then he would say, I'm not going to do it. And I think he did. But we had a good relationship, and we had a professional relationship, and his
That's completely wrong, Steve. Again, there's a court case right now going on about Elon Musk and his role in Doge. And I forgot the lady's name. They said that she was the administrator of Doge. Literally, you can look this up. I'm not going to look it up for you. You can easily look it up. It's very easy. It's very out there. If you know anything about an ounce of politics that's going on and you're keeping up to date with it, if you actually cared, you would know that the argument right now being made is that Elon Musk is not in charge of Doge in the courts, and that it's this woman who was in Mexico during the time that they announced it, and she was surprised about it.
respect for this country. And I think we've had some very good results. So, I haven't been able to say that to anybody else. I haven't wanted to say it until just before I came here. I got some pretty good news. So, but we have to see what happens. It's still a long way to go. The fighting is unbelievable. Russia has...
Josh, point blank, he was able to convince enough people. And again, because people vote with their wallets, he won based on the perception that the economy was bad, because inflation goes up, it never goes down. You look at inflation, it is compounding, okay? It continuously goes up. It's the whole reason why your great-grandparents or whatever from the 1920s were able to buy a house for like $100,000 or $10,000 or whatever, but we have a house that's $100,000 or $200,000 now or whatever. It's because inflation exists. But the rate at which inflation went up was dramatic. And so the perception was that the economy was bad, and that's why people voted. So when Donald Trump tries to sell you a bill of bad or false goods saying, oh, well, they gave me permission to be a bull in a china shop. No, that's not the case. The American people voted for Donald Trump based on the perception that the economy was bad, only for now Donald Trump to make the economy bad.
A large group of Ukrainian soldiers, as we speak, surrounded and in grave danger. They've been able to surround them.
Why is it down that much?
Biden should have never let this war happen. First of all, you don't want to pick on somebody that's a lot larger than you, even with the money. There's a lot of money that we gave them and a lot of equipment. We make the best military equipment in the world, but even with all of that, it's unbelievable. Right now, you have a lot of Ukrainian soldiers that are encircled and in grave danger, and I've asked them not to kill those soldiers, please, not to kill those soldiers. We don't want them killed. It's such a shame to see what's happened. A thing like that would have never happened.
He's so ashamed to see what happened with Ukraine, yet he wants to embarrass Zelensky on the world stage. Make that make sense.
Inflation would have never happened. October 7th would have never happened. Israel, Iran had
Inflation
no money.
happened because of your policies,
Think of it. They had no money to give to anybody.
That's why.
They were totally broke. And within a short period of time, as soon as Biden came in, he took out all the sanctions. In China and everybody else that wasn't buying oil from Iran was buying it at levels that they never spent before. And it was a sad thing. And if you look at Afghanistan, that
Sure, Plop. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: do we overspend? Yes. Do we spend things, or do we spend money on things that we probably ought not to? Sure. And I think this is the problem: is that there's a lot of common ground to be had between the Republicans and the Democrats. But the problem is that Republicans have decided to go so far right, so authoritarian, right, and just try to nuke these programs that any kind of agreement that could otherwise be made is going right out the window.
That was probably what got Putin started, because when he looked at how horribly we looked, I think the most embarrassing day, not that we got out because we were getting out. I would have been out faster than them. I was the one that got it down to the right level. But we would have kept Bagram, the big Air Force base. We would have kept it. Right now, China occupies Bagram. And the reason we would have kept it is because they were 1 hour away from where China has and builds its nuclear missiles and weapons. And they gave that up. At the dark of night, they left the lights on. And they left the dogs behind, by the way. A lot of people say, what about all the dogs? They had a lot of dogs. And they left the dogs behind. And what a shame. What a shame. The way we got out, I think it was the most humiliating time in the history of our country. The way it happened. Not that we were getting out, because we wanted to
The way it happened was because Donald Trump set that into motion. It would have happened almost nearly like that had Donald Trump been in office.
But we would have gotten out with dignity and strength. And what a difference a rigged and crooked election had on our country when you think about it. And the
Here
people
we go. There he goes with
who
it
did
again.
this to us should go to jail. They should go to jail. So I just want to say God bless
Political retribution.
America, because we have to say God bless. We're lucky we're still here, frankly. And this whole thing could lead, I think we have it. But this could lead to World War III very easily. Could very easily lead to World War III. But I think we're in pretty good shape. A lot better than we were before we got involved. That I can tell you. That was heading into World War III territory. That would have been a war like no other because of nuclear weapons and other types of weapons that people,
He has the same vocabulary. I hear the same exact talking points. There's nothing new here. And I don't understand why MAGA, some of y'all MAGA in chat that have TDS, seem to just gobble this up. It's the same stuff. And they're lies after lies after lies after lies. And you guys just keep on eating it up.
want to know about. But as many of you do know, well, we're focused on persecuting, and these people were really focused on persecuting Republicans. The last administration
Exactly, Caleb
presided over
Pounds.
the worst increase
Y'all
in violent
can't
crime
handle
in our
the
country
truth.
in
That's
many,
the whole
many
reason why I
decades.
have
We had,
that
levels of violence and crime, and a
that
lot of it had to do with
little,
illegal
graphic
immigrants that came in. Remember
someone
when I used to complain
subscribes.
about it? Because I knew how tough they
No,
were, how
you
mean they
have
were.
GDS.
And they said, no, people that come into our country are all wonderful people. No, they're not wonderful. These are stone cold killers. These are killers like, they make our killers look nice by comparison. They make our killers look nice. These are rough, tough people with the tattoos all over their face. Historically speaking, I don't want to discriminate against anybody, but historically.
Yes, Sienna, CNN, MSNBC are now illegal. I don't know if Donald Trump has got to that yet, but he says it in this speech. That's where that came from. And I was
speaking, they're not going to be the head of any major bank that we know of. These are rough people. These are rough killer people, and they allowed them in by the millions.
Biden did
in
plenty
major
for
cities
us.
like New York, Chicago, and Washington. Mothers can't walk their children to the park without fear of being shot or killed or raped or anything. Women can't ride the subway without worrying that a hoodlum will shove them onto the train tracks.
I wonder what he thinks of when he says these kinds of things. Remember, what was that? The Central Park 5 or whatever it was, Central Park 8, 5 or whatever. I wonder if those are the people that are going through his mind when he's sitting here saying these kinds of things.
In New York, it's happened twice in the last couple of weeks. They're standing there, perfect Wall Street gentleman in one case, and another person who was a worker, good worker, an electrician, gets pushed into a train going 45 miles an hour just prior to the train, not stopping, going to go through that. So I know the stations very well. I used to take the subway. I used to feel safe when I was young. I'd go to, my parents would drop me off at the subway. I'd take the subway to my school. Can you believe it? Today, they wouldn't be doing that. And we want to get a country back maybe where you can do that again, Pam. But it's so sad to see what's taking place under the Biden regime. Average monthly homicides increased by 14%. Property crime rose tremendously. Violent crime went up at least 37% that they know of. Rape soared by 42%. Car theft rose by 48%. And robbery surged to 63 to 100%. They don't even know what the number is. And I have no higher mission as President of the United States than to end this killing and stop this lawbreaking and to making America safe again. And that's what you're all about in this room. We want to protect Americans, and we protect everybody that's in our country, American or not American. We want to have a safe and proud country. We're joined today by dozens of police officers, sheriffs and sheriff's deputies from all across the country. My message to these law enforcement heroes is simple. With me in the White House, you once again have a president who will always have your back. Will always have your back.
Are you seriously yawning over people? No, it's called I'm yawning because I'm exhausted. I just worked a 8-hour shift, and this is my second job, which I know you MAGA love doing, the bootstraps argument. That's called work. Hard work kind of makes you a little bit tired. But I do it because I push through and I persevere because I do like doing this. But thank you for trying to ascribe something so heinous. Good job.
Thank you, folks. Thank you. That's a lot of good-looking people. I will tell you, I feel safe. I'm glad you're in the room. I feel even safer. It's a lot of great people. On day one, I signed an executive order directing Attorney General to ensure that anyone who murders a police officer immediately, with as fast a trial as we can have, gets the death penalty. A trial as we can have, General, to ensure that anyone who murders a police officer immediately, with as fast a trial as we can have, gets the death penalty.
So the thing about that is this. There is certainly some, I would tend to agree that, people sit on death row for like 15 years. The problem I have with this, though, is that we still need to ensure a due process. Where I stand personally on the death penalty is that I only want it when it is basically 99.99999% certain.
I fired all the radical left pro-crime U.S. attorneys appointed by Joe Biden. There were so many that were bad, and I know there were some that were probably very good, but there were so many that were so bad and so evil, so corrupt. Instead of having Marxist prosecutors who want to put police officers in handcuffs and go after a police officer rather than a criminal, I appointed patriotic, tough-on-crime warriors who will partner with police to put dangerous offenders behind bars, put them in jail. We're fully reviving 1033 program to provide state and local law enforcement with surplus military equipment that we have so much of it. I did it in my last administration, and I remember Obama wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it before me, would not do it, because he thought it made them look too strong, too military. I said, no, that's what I want them to look like. I want them to look strong. And it was protective, defensive equipment. We had billions of dollars. I gave it out, and now I'm going to have a chance to give it out again. They didn't want to do it with Biden, and Biden didn't know why. If they would have asked him, he wouldn't have been able to answer the question. He could never answer a question. They said my press conference yesterday was longer than all of Biden's press conferences put together for the last 4 years. And I don't know if that's true, but it was close. And perhaps most importantly, we're securing our border and repelling the invasion of America.
Please do not insult anybody in the chat, please. Thank you.
And Tom Homan and Christie have been incredible. Christie Noem, Secretary, she's done great. And Tom Homan is, I don't know if Tom Homan's here, but wherever he may be, I think he's chasing people out of our country. If he was here, I'd almost be disappointed. What are you doing, Tom? But he's a fantastic guy. He's a brave guy. Over the past 4 years, other countries emptied out their prisons and jails, mental institutions, and insane asylums, and sent the killers, drug smugglers, and bloodthirsty inmates from the filthiest dungeons of the world straight into the USA, and open border. We had an open border policy. Anybody could come in, no matter what you were, no matter where you came from, no matter what you looked like, no matter what you were doing, no matter what you did, no matter how many people you murdered, you could come right into our country. We have murderers right now walking the streets. We're joined today by Tammy Nobles, whose 20-year-old daughter, Kayla, was attacked in her home 3 years ago, horrifically assaulted and strangled to death by an illegal alien MS-13 monster set loose into our country under the open border Biden regime. Kayla was one of countless American victims ripped away from their families by the open border policies of that administration. And we're also joined by Kayla's stepfather, Jeremiah, and several other courageous angel families here today. And I'd love you to all just stand up and take a bow because you are incredible people. Please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. But I want you to know that we are working every day to expel these savages from our country and ensure that what happened to your loved ones will never happen again. So their legacy is going to be a great one. Thank you all very much. We appreciate it. On day one of my administration, I declared a national emergency on our southern border. In our first full month in office, we achieved the lowest level of illegal border crossings ever recorded. Okay? Even lower than 4 years ago.
Filthy. Here's the problem.
Democrats and the media kept saying that we needed new legislation. We had to have new legislation. We needed it immediately. And I never had legislation. I had the best border in the history of our country for almost 4 years. And by the time I got out, we had the lowest numbers ever. My favorite chart of all time was brought down that day. And on that chart said we had the lowest numbers ever. But it turned out that we really didn't need new legislation. All you needed was a new president. And I said that the other night. That's all you needed was a new president saying, close the borders, because the Border Patrol is unbelievable, ICE is unbelievable, and all of our law enforcement is just incredible. All of you guys are amazing, and the people of our country respect you and they love you, and a lot of times you don't hear that because you have to listen to the fake news back there, but they have great respect for you, so I just want you to know that. And you know, that includes our fire departments too. They don't get spoken about enough. You know, they go into some of the areas I read where they're shooting them off ladders. Can you believe it? They go up to put out a fire, Leo, and they go and they shoot them off a ladder. It's just unbelievable. These firemen and women are incredible. So I want to put them in the same category because they're just incredible. I also like that the fact they voted for me like at 94%. So I have to mention them. I have no choice, right?
I'm center left.
They're
I'm a liberal.
Phenomenal people. The law enforcement, fire, everybody, they're phenomenal. Basically first responders, because that's what they are. They're first responders. And we're ending the migrant occupation of America. And what we're doing now is we're liberating our cities and our suburbs and our towns. And you see a big difference. I'm getting calls all the time from even leaders of other countries saying, sir, the whole world feels liberated now.
All right, guys. Hey, look, I got to go. I'm going to catch you guys later. I'm so sorry. But thank you for everybody tuning in. Please hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. I will see you guys